I'll beat you. Yeah. You're walking like you should. Actually, you're walking like you did get beat.
Life doesn't way to do that today.
Like to get
You
you.
can hear it on you, but
I've been out, I ain't seen much.
Nobody's seen
It makes
two
it cool.
deers this year.
the other thing is,
You be visiting me in the nursing home.
30,000 children here.
The deer are all hiding.
I saw 5 the first day and I haven't seen another thing since. And I've had the last 2 weeks off and I haven't seen
I
nothing.
hunted for 25 years, and I saw one whole I had just unloaded my rifle when I saw it, so I haven't actually
So
killed it.
you're trying to say, Bob, you're a vegetarian?
I should be.
I was vegetarian.
So I just have to buy it.
My colleague got one right out in
My
the back
life is
orchard.
he has things delivered to
I'll
them
tell
at
you, it's,
midnight.
I've been sitting seeing them, I'm just not seeing them, I guess, I'm not privy to them.
I see a white one on the interstate, but you can't hunt them out there.
Yeah, they're pretty smart, they're smart
I
animals.
think it's town employee curse, because Chris ain't seen any.
I am a true believer though, you take a bullet and slow it down to 55 miles an hour, and put headlights and a horn on it.
You would run right into a window dog.
No, yes, they would. You wouldn't even have to aim.
I think that's one of the reasons I have, but it's all. Almost hit one on the
Sorry.
radio.
And what upstairs is, she saw mine the other night, I said, of course, it's after that, she prancing down over, just shot at the horse, and prancing down over the hill, she looked at it and said, oh, that thing's got horns. I said, yeah, I said, he knows when I'm there, so he goes and plays in that dog, and the other day, when he's down, I'm not going chasing him.
Right, that's the only way I found you can get to.
Oh, yeah, okay.
You gotta get to the point where they start moving early.
I've been looking for one, I haven't seen one yet.
You don't
I
see
went
that.
well, we went over to the Salvation Army in Bangor today.
Yeah, I think it's gonna have to be reused.
I didn't see one. They have some wheelchairs, we need one of those.
No, I don't want that. We need to avoid that, although now that we cleaned up the aisles in the town office, I can get around. Does anyone need the
You want a copy of it? I
Tim's gonna be here. Yes.
I have a lot of them, where you can get those guys to go down the back. They go down there, there's oaks down there, and just walk, and the sun is on, that swell guy, all that. Like today was 50 degrees out there. There's no reason for the move, it's the same way. They want to lay down there, they don't really got practice over there, and they're saying,
So, anyway. So I've been to 2 shots that I took. Getting visible. They put it behind you. Apparently he's trying to
You
look
could
over
practice
his shoulder.
with
because
me.
they run that off.
Start already.
Dead.
Just take really
No, she won't.
Sandy did, Sandy woman, she did that one, she shot that one, missed, and then the one's cost me, what cost a drink.
Something like that.
That's what she, I think she brought it. Looked like an elk in the back. She said, I shot him, missed, slipped back, and this one's concentration, I missed the second time. I got that.
I want to say Steve's already
This
talked
could
to
be,
me.
this is fine.
He talked to me.
Like I said, they can
Augusta,
listen to some
and
of
then on the Main Street project, finally, it begins.
Tyler really being out,
Slow,
every time
but
he's done
it
that.
begins. We're trying to move
So we
faster.
can have our engineering firm start the engineering side.
And next week, on Monday, Tuesday, they're supposed to to send out, they have their survey completed, and they're gonna give them to MCI, which is gonna design the front area, and change things around, and then we're gonna design the sidewalk. And then we can do it, because they have the grades and the slopes and everything.
Apologize, I'm running late here.
No problem. Oh, yeah, I
It's
know,
like
these are
everything-
really nice
We're gonna
blocks.
dock your pay.
Yes. It's like everything I've touched since I woke up this afternoon hasn't worked right, so it's one of them days. Oh, just got back from bed. Oh. Okay.
I want everyone to know that Steve Vance drives the speed limit.
Yes.
I spent a little bit on the way home.
Some say that. All right. Hang on tight, folks.
You did take a break. Huh? You did take a break.
Yeah.
I took the
So that's what I want right there.
I did. Another one? Cool. A half pack? I did. Michael had work that needed to pick up.
All right. So there.
So Caleb will be 45 minutes late, and Deborah's unable to attend.
Okay. All right, again, folks, I apologize for running late here. Welcome to the Pittsfield Town Council Workshop for Tuesday, November 26, 2019. Ask that we please all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I would ask for a moment of silence, please. Thank you. All right, so first thing we need is set rules up for the workshop. Rules, folks. Anybody? I mean, I realize we have a big agenda here, but
I'd like to be out by 8:30 or 9 o'clock, something like that.
that'd be, does anybody vehemently disagree with that?
7:30?
Why don't we shoot for 8:30?
8:30?
And, you know, if it runs into 9, fine, but I'd rather not go any longer than that if we don't have to.
Yeah.
We all gotta work in the morning and all that fun stuff, so.
No, we don't.
Speak for yourself.
We'll have you come down and help us.
All right.
Go to senior citizen meeting.
Yeah, there you go. Alrighty, so the first thing on the agenda this evening is communication.
All right, so the communications budget has come in at $21,570. It is the same amount as it was in 2020, so it's a 0% increase. And the communications budget is on page 22 of tab 3, or in the handouts, the first page. So the police chief is here this evening.
Take a look at it. Wait a minute, folks, Pete.
Pete, what other equipment is included aside from laptops and computers?
Fees for the INC, for the police computer.
So this would be not the computers that are in the office, but in the vehicles as well?
Well, we also have in there, I believe it was in that line item for some new computers last year. But we didn't buy them yet.
Under the contractual, they have the cost for all the computers in terms of the support software. And then in the communications budget, and sometimes in the police budget, they put some replacement computers.
So 2010 is equipment, and it says replacement computer and software, and then maintenance communications. The contractual is down under 2505. So what would be covered under 15-10 for $3,500? Repairs for computers, laptops, etc.
I think that's right.
And this is in the cruiser or in the communication center in the office?
for both.
Oh, mhm.
Okay.
Any other questions, counselors, concerns, discussion on the communication center's budget?
I just thought it's like a lot for repairs if we're also purchasing new equipment.
That could go down with that. And I think I brought up back a while ago about one of the things we were looking at was maybe leasing equipment. So we would be able to flip it every 3 years. And then we would actually own it. So it wouldn't be like we were giving it away. We would own it for $50 more. It was actually gonna be $50 more expensive to lease it compared to buying it. We'd flip it every 3 years, and then we would be able to give it to another department or something like that, or something. So we would have the most up-to-date equipment.
How old is the equipment we have now, Pete?
I think it's pretty old.
It's getting there.
So the new cruisers, both have new computers in them and the setups and everything, because we did that.
The newest cruiser has a brand new one in it, and it was paid for with a grant. We got a grant for, I can't remember how much it was, but it was, total was like 15 grand. That was like 8 or 9 months ago. Not to be confused with the one I just got a few weeks ago for another 15 or 16 grand.
Great.
So we do have a brand new one in there that's state of the art. But there's a couple that I got. One I think has to be replaced, and one cruiser doesn't have a computer.
Okay. Thank you.
So do you take a computer, do you take them out from vehicle to vehicle, like, that's how you do it?
We do. That's what we've done. But we kept one extra cruiser this year for the SRO position, the school resource officer position. That cruiser does not have a laptop. So
Does it need one? If it's primarily just their transportation between schools,
It's-
or?
It's not critical, but when you need it, you need it. So the goal is to get one.
Do they have an office in the school as well, that they have access to a computer there? Or does it have to be like a specific computer for the police systems?
Correct.
Okay.
He only has access to the school email system, the SAD 53 system
Okay.
in the school.
So if the school resource officer has reports or something that they need to file, they need to come into the office in order
Correct.
to do that?
Right.
Or sit in a group?
Right.
Does the SRO vehicle get used for patrol at all, Pete, or is that
What's that?
strictly SRO, does it get used for patrol at all, or
So
is it strictly the SRO vehicle? Or is it just
once in a while it
strictly-
does, yes. When vehicles are down, it's been used.
Okay, so we should have a computer.
We're in pretty good shape right now with the cruises, but, occasionally, it fills in.
You have to take a
We've had a lot of, that's another talk, but we've had a lot of repairs this year.
Maintenance issues. All right, councils, any other questions on the communication center budget? No? Okay, all those in favor of the communication budget passes as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, the communication budget passes.
So the next budget is the police department, which has come in at $717,013, an increase of $75,368, or 11.8% increase.
Catherine, do you have there where the major
What is it,
increases
yeah.
were? I mean, I know we put the
Yes.
administrative assistant got tucked
Yeah.
in there, so
Yeah.
is that the full 59 that's listed there?
That would be most of the increase. Now, remember, the pay increases are estimated and put into the unclassified, so they're not in any of the budget.
Well, that's just what is listed here.
Yes, the
So that's
administrative
just-
assistant
alright.
is in there full-time, as he's utilizing an individual full-time now. And then you've got the increase in the health insurance, and then there were changes in the accounts up and down.
Nothing major.
No.
Pete, what's the status of the cadet program?
It's pending.
So the administrative assistant is added in here now?
Yes.
Where's that at?
Third line down.
Yeah,
And AA group, yeah.
Yeah, I put it right in there so you could see it.
Okay.
And then the police still have the cafe under their union agreement, so until we negotiate it out, it's not in their pay as the amount of the dollars that it adds in. It's in a separate line that still goes into their checks. So it's the old-fashioned system we had.
And this is separate because of the
Union agreement. It's in
versus
there.
the other employees.
Yes, we
we
switched
can-
over for everyone else.
Pete, do you anticipate that the uniform cost under 535 can be reduced because you got that last grant with the vests and stuff, or is that separate?
Well, I think for the most part, it might be a little less this year because I've been able to buy them a lot of stuff in the last 2 years. But that is one thing that I'm going to be looking to try to get them is those outer carrier vests.
Yeah.
Because it's better for their health and safety, mostly their backs. And there's been a lot of studies on them, and it shows that, in the long run, cities and towns have less injuries because the officers aren't lugging around everything on their waist, and it's carried up here more around the chest with the vest type carrier.
Are those the same type of vests that are covered by the grant that you did just get?
I believe so. It's just a different style.
So going down through the accounts, most of the difference, of course, is in the personnel, which it always is. Last year, we had upped the part-time and the overtime, so that's the same this year for 2020. The insurance is up approximately $7,000. Workers' comp is down. Hopefully that will remain that way. That is down approximately $1,700. The travel is up $500. Members and dues is up $1,300. The uniforms that you already pointed out, because it was obvious, that was up $1,500. And then we got a whole variety of accounts that are same until we get down to motor vehicle, because there's been more issues this year. So that has been increased $4,200. And the equipment is the same, building plant is the same. Looks like everything else is the same, except for printing and forms, which has gone up $1,100. So there are pluses and minuses for the budget. And then, of course, the pool officer is in there at the cost that would be required.
And most of that comes back to us through the revenue budget for the school, right?
Yes, yes. Now, the school has requested less weeks in 2020. They don't want to pay for vacation, which is something that had been in there previously.
So is it 40 weeks instead of 42 weeks?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are we just printing a lot of forms this year versus other years?
That's what happened.
We ran out of a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Questions or comments, counselors? Concerning the police department's budget? Some of the costs, like maintenance costs of vehicles, so
Can't do
yeah,
it.
that's kind of, it's a fluctuating thing that you don't have a lot of control over.
I'm curious what the advertising is. There's a line item for $200 for advertising. I'm just curious what you advertise.
Well, we have an opening for a police officer,
Okay.
things like that. That would primarily be what it is, that's why it's only a couple $100. I don't even know if we've I'd have to go back and look some of it. And show we used it. That's why it's so low.
Yeah. Thanks.
Over the years, there might be an ad if the police was having a program, but frankly, you can use Facebook and the websites and everything.
We usually use the police academy website for hiring, for advertising. Just fits a pretty big population. It's free.
Anybody have any questions? Questions, comments? Bob, you all set?
Who's that? Yeah.
Okay. All right, not hearing any. Since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of the police budget as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Police budget passes. Next is animal control.
All right, so the next is animal control, which is coming in at $7,407, a decrease of $8,804. Basically, 50%, over 50% decrease. And that is on
Page 27.
page 27. And of course, this is where the ACO part of the job, most of it was moved to the new patrol officer position that's being advertised. So far, no applicants, at least as of yesterday.
So you still have that open position for an officer plus ATO?
Yes, sir.
Questions or comments concerning animal control?
So that animal shelter services, is that Skowhegan's fee?
Waterville.
Waterville. Yeah, we used to go to Skowhegan, and now we go to Waterville.
Okay.
They've been very good. Skowhegan was good for a long time. And I think before that, we went to our own shelter here.
We did.
Which now is a tax-acquired property.
Is that our actual cost this year, or are we still waiting for them to give us
We're
the
still
cost?
waiting for the cost, and it may come in a little bit higher,
Okay.
which means there'll be less forms.
Do we, so for the police department, we're printing $1,500 worth of forms, and then another $500 worth of animal control forms. Seems like a lot for forms.
If you were proactive and did a lot of programs and had a free rabies clinic and all these things, I could see you could use some money, not that much, but.
Right.
I'm expecting that the animal shelter is probably gonna be higher, just from scuttlebutt, so we could put another 200 into the animal shelter and then cut the printing forms down to 100.
Pete, do they write a ticket to someone if their excuse me, if their dog is running loose and they have to return it to them, or
They could.
I mean, how does?
I don't think there are too many tickets written for that, but
So what would this form be? Do they use it to communicate with the shelter when they drop off an animal, or?
I think like what the town manager just mentioned, basically. I don't think it's used a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And, we do try to print forms, from the computer and just print paper copies, so we reduce printing fees. But every now and then we have to buy, like witness statements, things like that are in duplicate, so that it becomes a little more pricey.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And the ACO would be using those as well, or that would be just?
Yeah, or separate forms that are individual, needs for the ACO program.
Is there, are they able to use the same witness statements or things like that the regular officers are using, or
Yeah.
do they need a separate form?
No, they can use the same ones, and usually, if she needs those, the officer's involved with her, so they issue those forms.
Okay. So does this really need to stay in here for printing for this department, or?
I think we should have something in there.
Okay.
Why don't I would suggest we add $200 to the animal shelter, and then put in the printing forms is $100. So in total, you will be cutting 300.
So it'd be 7,107.
Everybody good with that?
And do we just keep, going with our current ACO until we hire? Even though we're not gonna have a budget for it, it would just come up whatever that salary would be?
So
For the
Pete had
officer
talked
that's not
about
hired.
having her like on standby.
Mm-hmm.
So you'd have to make an arrangement with her, but if we could get somebody hired, then that would take care of 90% of the time probably.
Right, I'm just thinking in the interim, I mean, if we
Yes.
don't have any applicants yet, we're looking at January 1st, we don't have a budget per se to pay Connie. When we do have to use her services, would that just be coming out of the
There are
pay that
two
would have been?
options. We could charge it to the police department, or we really should charge it to the animal control budget, and then at the end of the year do transfer.
Okay.
That way we show
Keep
exactly
everything
what
where
we
it went.
spent.
Okay.
How long has the position been advertised now?
So he's gone through several steps, and you can explain.
About a month.
So that was with our full-time officers and reserve
First,
officers
then
and part-time
reserve.
officers, and then.
I have one officer now who's in the process, one reserve officer.
Okay.
Questions or comments? Any other questions? Okay, all those in favor of the animal control budget with $7,107 as the final total, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that passes as well. Next is Public Works.
So the next budget is Public Works, which comes in at $737,225, an increase of $115,873, or 18.7%, which is on page 28. And Steve Vance, the Public Works foreman, is here this evening in charge of the department.
Take that. Trades all over.
I guess I have the same questions where our increases are from last year.
Yes.
Year over year.
Mhm.
I mean, I know the sand, because we're paying more for the sand this year, right?
Yes, so in the highway, we would have major increases, and of course the health insurance, because there's many people. Uniforms are down 200. Going to the major increase in general supplies, and that's an increase of approximately $53,000. And so Steve can explain the items he added in there, which of course we know some of which is the sand, the really good sand. And then the motor vehicles went down, a lot of the other counts stayed the same. And then getting down to a major increase in contracts and rentals, going from 87,494 up to 161,252. So basically in the supplies and the contractual is where the biggest changes are.
So aside from sand, Steve, where else do we see increases in the general supplies?
Say that again?
Aside from the sand, 'cause we discussed that at length, that we're paying more for sand. Where else are we gonna see increases in the general supplies? I think there was,
I believe that general supplies and what we extend in culverts for a year, it's gonna be more.
doing more culvert.
You know, gravel in what we've done in the past. I mean, but even though I budgeted, I believe, 3,500 last year,
Yeah.
that's gonna be come the normal, that wasn't the normal before I come, but that's about what it takes to have on hand in various aggregates
Yeah.
to cover the needs of the town.
Okay.
And see, I'm trying to avoid getting into a situation where I let a dirt road play out to the point where I gotta rebuild the whole thing, resurface the whole thing. Well, there's your budget right out of the gate. So we've been working to, like I said, drainage, shape and stuff like that, year by year, and we'll surface a section. One section may be played out, may be harder to grade, but I don't wanna bite the bullet all at once. So each road gets a little bit each year, and I'm gaining each year.
Okay.
I'm in hopes to get them up to par over the next 3 or 4 years. Yeah.
And then down.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, I was gonna say, and then down in contractual, I know we talked about doing more of the crack sealing. You said if we can do more of that, then.
All right, so if you invest in a road, you pave a road, and you get a crack show up in it, if you can keep the water out, the rule of thumb is that if you maintain that road and keep the water out from getting into the base or getting into the next layer of pavement, that you're extending the life of that by 70% or better. Overall. We haven't done that, so I wanna try to build that, and I'm gonna go as far as I can on the newer paved roads. I'm not gonna waste crack sealing on things that, 4,000 feet of crack sealing is $4,400, basically. That's 4,000 feet of it. That's just like, I really should have crack sealed the parking lot this year, because that's why it heaves and moves, as moisture gets into the base, it freezes, and then it keeps moving and it cracks more and more. Bottom line is, if we could have rebuilt that parking lot, like Chimbrow, not to use them as the only example, but that is a good example. Like they built their training center parking lot with good stable base material, put in properly. Well, the one they just did on their building, that'll be a 30-year parking lot. Right now, you're just paving over bad base, so you gotta protect it, get as much out as you can, but that's what we can afford to do. That's what we did.
Okay. So aside from the crack sealing, what else in the contractual are we looking at? There was $87,000. Like, well, not 80,000, like 70.
Well, contractual
4,000.
wasn't that part of contracting out lawn services and stuff like that?
Which is new in that budget.
So is that the grounds maintenance mowing, the 25,000, that's new?
Correct.
And you moved over tree removal from building, for grounds and buildings.
And tree
And we
removal,
increased
and
tree-
stump grinding went along with that.
Grinding.
We increased tree removal to $9,000 because we're falling behind. We need to play catch up. Can't catch it all up 1 year, but I gotta be as aggressive as I can year to year, so we're gonna be at the 9,000 mark on tree removal. And then we don't have a budget item to follow up with stump removal. So there's an additional budget item for following up and removing stumps. And I gotta play catch up on that, so that'll be a while too. Yeah.
Were you pleased with the results of the paving on Detroit Avenue?
On Detroit Avenue,
Yeah.
Detroit Avenue's not finished.
It's the first coat.
Detroit Avenue is the one that ended up with only the shim, based on, I could not get ring risers for the non-standard size
So that's
covers
why
in
the manholes are.
in a normal time period.
Okay.
Like 30 days they had to be made, so that put me outside the paving season.
Okay.
So I'm happy with the shim.
Yeah, and that'll hold up till next year, till you get.
The shim will be fine, it'll hold up. Next year I gotta cut out around each one of those basins. What I am gonna do is I've decided I'm gonna change the non-standard basins to a standard basin cover. Raise those up to where they need to be, which is what we'll do before we have them finish up and put the surface on.
Okay. All right.
So no, it's not done.
Okay.
That's the road.
Just wanted to make sure, because when I went on it, I wasn't overly thrilled. It's right, you know?
It's better than it was.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
all over, Steve, it's all
Maybe say
over.
rises instead of marble.
A little bitty car that's low to the ground.
Yeah.
So that's a second road that we found that the basins aren't the regular sizes, so they have to be
Right.
made. So now we now know that could be on other roads, so we'll get ahead
Well,
of
going
that.
forward, what I'll do is
Yeah.
something with that on the front.
Check it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I thought that was gonna be an easy thing, it didn't work out that way. And then some of them you gotta be careful with, cause they're still the brick catch basins. So,
We got all kinds of interesting things under the ground.
Yeah.
weren't even in the DOT meeting.
Will you be issuing RFPs for those, the new things like the crack sealing and the,
Will I issue an RFP?
yeah,
I will put it out to bid.
yeah.
Yeah. I'll put it out to bid, as long as they can meet the performance, but, I got pricing for crack sealing last time, and one guy was near double the $4,400. Yeah, the lowest price I could come up with was $4,400 for 4,000.
I know it's pretty expensive. Well, just so that you know my background, I'm working for the University Transportation Center at UMaine, so
Yeah.
gravel, asphalt, all of that, that's,
Oh, yeah. It's, not cheap anymore.
no.
The line we have vehicle maintenance for 12.5, that's enough to cover everything.
Oh,
I was gonna say, how do you?
you know better than that.
I spend that a week. I mean,
I think town of St. Albans runs less equipment than we do, and they got more vehicle maintenance budget than I do. They also cover about 55 miles of road, but they don't have the in-town road structure or infrastructure that we have to maintain. And they run a three-man crew, because it's mostly rural, like I said, they don't have all the other stuff that we do. And the overtime budget is more than mine. And the crew gets paid more than mine. We do, whatever the budget is, we try to work within as best we can. But no, that's not enough.
so,
So remember, you cut that, you reduced that from 22,000 to 12,500.
I did?
You did.
Yeah. And I don't even know.
You wanted something else.
I did not do that, you did that.
no way you can do it with 12.5.
You know, folks, I'm gonna tell you, not that I
done that
wanna spend more
before, and he
money,
goes
but
over.
I don't think that 12.5 is a realistic figure at all.
Well, we spent $9,000 in the
I
budget just to
mean,
maintain
I know
the
that-
police vehicles,
I
and
think it
those
was
aren't heavy duty
55.
equipment,
Yeah.
so.
You buy one tire and it's $500.
What have we paid this, what have we paid this year so far?
They are way over budget, and I have that right here. Oops.
Typo?
My biggest concern is if you leave it that way, then something happens and now all of a sudden we're in
Well,
an
that's
emergency
fine. I mean, I know
situation
better
this
than
summer.
that. I mean, you know, you got my answer.
So,
Yeah.
we had $22,000 in the budget. He purchased, besides his maintenance, he purchased 2 pieces of equipment to go in the vehicles that could have come out of the reserve account, but by their timing did not. So he has spent to date $33,354.92, which is more than usual. There's a couple of pieces of equipment. Yeah.
So I think, is that a typo, is it supposed to be 21.5 instead of 12.5?
No, that's, he put in 12.5.
What's that?
I was thinking it was a typo, that it should be 21.5. Yes, it was budgeted for 22 already this year.
When it all gets put together, I must have made a mistake.
I'd like to see something more realistic.
Well, yeah.
But I do know right off the top of my head that I can answer you that no, it's not enough, so I know better. Yeah.
You were trying to be nice to us.
Do you have an idea what those other
I'm
pieces
not
of
trying to-
equipment
no,
were?
no, I wasn't
that
trying to be
you
nice.
took
I
that
tried to
as the
be-
actual
as real as I can be.
I think if he went back to his 22,000, he'd be
Do
all set.
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be a good.
He's
time
put
to
in
shoot
for a new vehicle too,
So let's do
which
that.
should take care of some of the issues that's going on.
My biggest thing, like I said, and you know that's gonna happen, that at 12.5, I mean, something's gonna happen here, or whatever it is, it's gonna happen, and we're not gonna have, and then we're gonna be in a situation where we're gonna pull money from somewhere else, so. And again, I don't even know what the full answer is, but I know that if St. Albans is more than that, that's obvious to me that that's not gonna work, that's not a realistic figure,
I already know
12.5.
the answer, it's not gonna work.
Well, he usually has 12,000,
Yeah, so,
22,000.
anyway, what do you councilors think?
I'm thinking at least 22. I was thinking more 25. To be real, I mean, I want to buy him more equipment, new equipment, but I want to see him maintaining it too. And he can't maintain it if we don't give him enough money to do it properly. I don't want to spend any more money than nobody else wants to,
No.
you know, but
Yeah, we don't wanna have stuff not maintained right either, and then you're in a worse position than you were.
same idea as paving the road and not doing the culvert and you're
Correct.
not keeping it,
Correct.
throwing good money after bad.
Oh, my mistake.
So we're between 22 and 25, is that what you're?
Go with 23,000,
Okay.
Okay.
because he's increased the other accounts, so it should be on there.
So that would put it up to. What would that be for a final total?
10.5 more.
I should have bought it, man, I should have bought a notebook with me, or calculator.
Oh, no, that's
747,
okay. I have my
725.
calculator.
I have a question.
47,
725.
725, okay.
I see in here that you have under 2005, the equipment purchase rental.
Yeah.
And it has the brush trimmer and the compact rollers and paving grinders and such, but it also looks like rollers and compactors are listed in contractual as well. Is that an accidental double thing?
Rental and contractual.
Well, you're talking about under equipment rental, but you're also talking about rentals under contractual. So are we spending the same amount twice? There's only a $1,000 difference, that's why I'm asking.
I see what you're saying, so you got 8,500 listed under contractual for that, and then you've got it up here under equipment purchase rental, is that what you're talking about?
That is exactly what I'm
Yeah.
talking about, yes.
2005 and 2505.
I'm just thinking if we have to raise vehicle maintenance, if that's a double thing, we can bring that back down and the budget's not a huge raise.
Rental.
Hang on with that.
What? I'm reading right now.
Oh, your contractual line is when you have somebody else do that work. The rental line is when you rent your excavators and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, this is what I've got. I went
It's
back
not,
and
it's not
read
a
my,
double up.
I went back and read my purchase and
It's the terminology, it just needs to be explained, that's all.
Contractual, somebody else, you would hire somebody else to do that.
Catch basin.
Piece, do that piece of equipment where it's rental, he would rent it and do it himself.
And often Public Works does their own, but once in a while they do have help.
Right.
So do we still need rental in there for the excavator? Because didn't we give you a promise to buy an excavator?
We haven't
this
bought
year?
one yet.
Well, get on that.
Well,
The whole
I'm
idea is you don't
struggling a
want
little
to
bit. My needs are for a little bit bigger excavator than the water department needs, so we're struggling with coming to an agreement of what's gonna actually be purchased.
Well, I would say one of you needs a bigger one of you needs a smaller one. You go with the bigger one because otherwise it won't meet your needs.
Well, you can't,
Can't
well,
say.
right, I gotta find the right fit, not too big that they can't use it. The whole idea is, find the best fit to use across all things.
Mhm.
And what I find is an 18,000-pound excavator is sort of like ditching with a teaspoon. You can get it done, but just takes longer. More time, more labor, more.
So is that the size the water department needs?
No, that's about the biggest size they would accept.
So the water sewer needs smaller areas to get into
But
to do.
I'm gotta look at some
items.
dimensions, I gotta look at some stuff, but
They gotta work
if I
it
can
out.
be in the 24,000-pound class, that would be, I think, where I wanna be. I'll see if I can sell it, but yes, we gotta do that.
I thought we already went through this when we put out like RFPs to get quotes on it, figure out how much it was, and when Scott was here, I thought you guys had figured that all out already.
Scott came in and gave us the information, but
Did
there's not an agreement of everyone now.
Correct.
Okay. So you're working with all of our associates to try and figure that out? or-
The only one I need to work with is Chris right now,
Okay.
to come to an agreement on what we're gonna accept. I won't accept something too small, he won't accept something too big, we gotta find the agreement.
So it's a matter of the size of the excavator, not the size of the bucket that you're scooping with.
Well, the size of the excavator determines what size bucket you can scoop it in.
Well, I thought you could change the
Detachable bucket.
You
buckets
can.
to
But if you
different
put too big a
sizes
bucket
or-
on too small an excavator,
Well,
it
yeah,
You're talking about an
obviously.
18,000-pound machine, that's what the
Well,
machine
that's
weighs.
why I was saying, if you need a bigger machine, you
24,000
need a
machine is
bigger
a
machine,
It's all
but
power
if you
tracks.
change out
but it's
the,
not,
Bigger bucket, bigger boom.
you can go to a certain size. Once you go beyond that size with the bucket on a smaller excavator, then it won't dig properly.
Right.
It can't, it's just,
I think she's saying get a little
Yeah.
bigger one, but then when get
Well,
a smaller
it's a
bucket
bucket.
for it if they
They
need
do-
to.
right.
Well, you do the curb stops and stuff, the thing is a bigger machine has a bigger boom too, a longer boom.
Right.
So you're doing fine work with
Some
curb
of the
stops
tighter
and
stuff.
stuff. With water, you can't have a big machine, you can only go so
Some of the tighter
small with a big
stuff.
machine.
we'll find the best balance that we can, and that's what we'll work with.
They will come to agreement because we're not getting two excavators.
Well, I just don't wanna see another line item in here, because that was the whole idea of, stop renting it, buy one, because,
Well, I mean, the rental verbiage just covers whatever it happens to be that we need to rent, whether it be dozer, excavator, which it could be right now, but I know it irks you to see that word in there, but it's just a word, Heather, really.
I know, we went through all this last year, and we said, okay, over 3 years, we could just buy an excavator instead of renting one every year, and I feel like it's still in
I've
there.
had a replacement dozer on my wish list for 3 years, and I still haven't got.
And we'd like to see, I'd like to see you do more of what's called leasing, so you don't have, you can take down on the motor vehicle maintenance too, lease those.
Yeah.
And then you've got a new piece of equipment every 5
Yeah,
years.
well, I mean, the motor vehicle maintenance budget was never adequate to begin with.
Right.
And yes, I made a mistake in that, and I'll honestly admit that, shit happens.
Alright, so we got that fixed, so
Yep.
this has to stay in here still, because it's other things that you're renting, and the compactor rollers are rented for you to do stuff, as well as what Donnie was saying, you also may hire out to have it done as well.
If it's necessary.
Yeah, like if you wanted to hire Stanley with his roller to come out and compact
That would
ground
be their
surface.
equipment though.
That's Stanley's equipment, he would be running,
Right.
he would have Stanley kitchen to do that.
So to answer Amanda's question, both of those line items need to be in there, because then you're looking at $16,000 a year to either rent things or to pay someone else to do that same service.
Something.
Doesn't necessarily mean
I
you
mean,
include it.
it's a budget, if I don't need it, I won't spend it.
Right.
Alright.
But if I do need it, I'm not one of those that if you say at the end of the year, hey, Steve, you got money left over, spend it. I don't think that a town can operate that way.
Well, I don't think Public Works ever has money left over at the end of the year.
And we're all giving you money.
No, that's one of them, that's one of them departments where you don't have to worry about things
The
like
sand
that.
budget number was a number.
Dirt costs a lot.
And that didn't work out for me. We'll try, all we can do is keep trying to rectify the budget the best we can and go forward.
I appreciate that. So,
All right.
I'm good.
All right, any Anybody else have any questions on this? I don't want to beat it to death, but again, I think that's a little bit more realistic, so. All right, so I don't want to cut you guys short. Any questions?
I just want to say thank you for your response, because I didn't understand that.
That's understood. Ask any question you want, I don't care, ask the question.
That's how we find things out. Alrighty, so if we don't have any other questions, councilors, all those in favor of the Public Works Highway budget with a final figure of $747,725, is that correct?
Yeah.
Please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that budget passes. Next is buildings and grounds.
So buildings and grounds has come in at $11,990. This is a decrease of $5,657, or a 32.1% decrease. And so this is on page 30. And this is the budget where the tree removal and stump removal was taken out. And then a little bit more, I think, was put in for general supplies. So general supplies are here for mulching, which is a partial purchase, and then town items for mulching. Paint and supplies, fertilizer, loom, flag, seed, light bulbs. Then we have a tiny amount for non-vehicle maintenance, buildings and grounds maintenance, just minor items, dealing with all these buildings, little buildings that we have that don't have a budget. The industrial park sign for electrical work. And then the electrician for lighting, which can be down at the industrial park sign. It could be in one of the parks where there is an issue at a building. Fire extinguishers for Hawthorne Park. And some little mowing areas, which should be less this year, but we still have the shoulders of the road. And then of course the electrical.
So this doesn't actually include any building maintenance per se.
It's not really, it's the minor little tiny things. There's no building maintenance really in there.
Okay.
But if you had a bill for, let's see, the door fell off, the Hawthorne Park concession area, you know, we would buy the door over there because we inherited the concession building. And we've got a little shed there and a whole variety of little buildings here and there that do not have a budget themselves.
Miscellaneous town grounds.
Miscellaneous town grounds.
Can I ask a question, Catherine?
Certainly.
The mowing, industrial park, and green spaces and lots, that's not gonna be covered under the grounds maintenance mowing for contractual in the last budget?
Absolutely no.
It's a different type.
Different type.
Yeah, because you're going into areas where the trees are and you have to cut them off, the little limbs, and it's beside the road and not straight mowing in a park. Yeah. Bush hog or do some other work there.
This is like we're talking,
Mm-hmm.
like what, twice a year in the empty lots, or?
It may be that we'll only have to do one
I
lot.
was gonna say we're not gonna have any empty lots.
Because we won't have the empty lots, we'll just have the stormwater detention area that does need a little bit of cutting. And then the shoulders of the road, the sides of the road as you go in by the culverts, you want to make sure that that looks good, where the signs are and everything, so that you've got a nice entrance into the industrial park. And we may not need to use that much, but there's probably another area we could use it in.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Steve, did you want to add any comments? Anything else?
Well, the roadside, no, I'll just, you answered the question, you know, I could answer the question the same way, it's different. However, the roadside mowing does in a way get done more than what that pays
Yes.
for, even though that gets done, is when if it needs it additionally, we do it. The boom. So it actually gets done more than people think it does. And that's the only way, especially with the boom mower, they do the roadside, the short side. When they do the roadside mowing, they do the short side, pretty much shoulder only. They don't get out and take care of the brush. when we go out through, you'll find that it gets all done again, roadside and brush. And then, like we mowed it the year before, we'll mow it again, so it don't ever get ahead of us again. And then areas that we haven't even got to yet, we get the brush beat back, it looks really ugly for a year or two. But I think after 2 seasons, what you can see on the areas that we've got 2 seasons into, it's a vast improvement. 3 seasons will be even better. So, it's just one of those things you can't let go of. It's like crack sealing. Once you go down that road, it's cheaper to maintain it than it is to let it go 10 and 15 years and then play catch up.
The, under equipment, replacement of planks, damaged sections of picnic tables, benches, and waste receptacles. Some of those items were on Jane's list earlier this spring of things to get ready for. Were all of those things finished, or do we need to put some money in the budget in order to be able to?
I think we used
Replace picnic
pieces
tables and
of
things like
items that Timmy came up with and pulled them out of the garage, and fixed everything. I don't think there's anything left. All of the planks got fixed on all of the tables, to my knowledge.
Okay.
And I purchased, I know this, people got kind of shocked here, but we have beautiful new waste receptacles everywhere, tied down, that have not been thrown anywhere.
They needed to be replaced, yeah.
Yes, they
We got
did.
more that needs to be replaced next year. It's
Yes.
just, you can't do it all at once. Yeah.
Okay, well, we don't have anything on that line item right now, so that's why I was wondering,
Under buildings and grounds,
yeah. Is it in another spot?
No, they're not in
no,
there.
it's not, no, it's not.
I thought I would try to get a grant for them and use some of the grant match
Yeah.
monies. This is my plan here.
Mm-hmm.
And we can do that.
I have done that
Available,
before.
Things like that from time to
Okay.
time.
Last time I just purchased them because we needed to get it done. There wasn't a grant available. So I thought I would apply for a grant for the rest of the receptacles.
That was on the list of one of the items on that last grant that you were talking about, wasn't it? The downtown.
Yes, I purchased several that we could use more. Mhm.
So we don't need to do anything there.
Yes, we'll find some money someplace for that.
Yeah, I wouldn't add anything in right now. Let's see how we make that.
All right, any questions, counselors, on buildings and grounds budget? Anybody else have any questions? No? Everybody good with that? Okay, all those in favor of the buildings and grounds budget as written, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and that passes.
All right, so the next budget is transfer station. Transfer station budget comes in at $445,005, an increase of $13,640, or 3.2%, mostly in the health insurance area, and a little bit in contractual. And remember, this department, as well as all the other departments with personnel, with the exception of the fire department, has the raises in the separate account. At this point. And Donnie Shute is here this evening, as well as his second, who wants to answer lots of questions. Dave.
We're in the process.
We're in the process.
Hey, I heard your new building's in place.
It's up to, it's not in place.
Well-
It's gotta be finished off.
It's on
That it's
site.
up there. I heard that
It's
it's up
on
there.
site. We're excited. It's there.
That's pretty exciting.
It is. I mean,
Very good price on that too, by the way.
Yes.
just so like,
I think
I'll
we'd all like to
I'll
have
throw
it in
this
our
out there
house.
so everybody knows that I had three personal pets up there that were working on a little rat problem. We had 3 owls. Dave found one of them by the gate, somebody shot it. Not happy. Dave, when's come get that tonight?
They are there. Well, they were there, that was my understanding.
Yeah, I was not happy. One of my 3 owls, somebody shot it. I'm mad. So the game was had been contacted.
Anybody got any?
Oh yeah, they're federal protected, so, yeah, whoever, they find out whoever done that, there's gonna be big trouble. That's a raptor, yeah, it's not good.
Are you do you have any, baby traps out coming out? and
Yes,
stuff?
yeah.
Because the owls can eat
They
them,
second
and
generation
then
killers?
They'll
Yeah.
kill the owls.
Yeah.
No, we don't use the toxic stuff, we use the fiber stuff. it's all
Oh.
natural
Oh.
rat stuff, but all it does is bind them up.
Just the rat X,
Okay.
rat X and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, oh yeah, no.
You don't use second generation.
Because we never know what's going on because there has been in the past too, we used to have some feral cats and stuff, and whether they're feral or not, we don't wanna kill them.
Yeah, okay.
Again, that's one of those things DEP.
Yeah.
Remember, we're very ecologically sensitive up there, and something like that could cause real problems when the
Yeah.
inspector comes. Which I will, mind you, the inspector came a month or so ago, and we got, first time in a long time, excellent remarks from our new DEP with what we're doing for ecology-wise and the environment, and our programs and everything. We come out pretty decent, so it was nice. It was nice.
Oh, it was the holes I filled.
No, that's a different guy. That's a landfill guy. You wait till he comes. That's a landfill. That's a landfill monitoring part.
Actually,
There's two different agents: transfer station recycling, and then there's one for the landfill and waste and groundwater monitoring. So.
Cool.
So no major changes in this from last year?
And basically was, everything's about the same other than contractual. Contractual, I think we went up by $1 per ton or something, and that's based on our 5-year contractual cost of waste management. Obviously, I don't like to see those tipping fees there. That's one of those things that bothers me. It's doubled from when I started until when we had free market negotiating. And one of the things too is, you'll notice the same thing, I kept my recycling the same, as we have been, we pride ourselves on trying to save as much as we can and reduce that amount of waste. And even though this year we've sent out more recycling and reduced the amount of trash, the revenue is down. So as far as what we're selling the stuff for, the tariffs for all the countries that all the recycling goes to, so it's pretty bad, but we're still maintaining. We actually were doing pretty well.
You got a lot of cardboard stockpile there. I was up there today, don't you?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we got load number 3 going out this month.
Yeah.
So that's almost unheard of.
Yeah.
Doing 3 loads a month.
So there's no item number, or there's nothing in the budget here for 1545 facility upgrade. Specifically, I'm looking at gravel roadway. Seems like your gravel driveway is always an issue come spring, and it gets washboardy and potholed. And is there additional?
You went up
Well, I
there
bought
today.
I bought 1,000
I have not
yards.
been in a while. I haven't
I bought
been.
1,000 yards of gravel, which Steve has used elsewhere. So
I
he's.
haven't used it all. You got quite a bit of that.
I got 150 yards of it out of 1,000.
You did not get 150 yards out of 1,000.
Now, boy.
I don't know, I know they owe each other, I've
I want more than 150 yards just on the head of the road
Not,
for
it's in
furniture.
between the figures that they're saying.
Whoa.
All right.
Now.
Stop that.
So he does have some gravel that,
Okay.
But he's maintained my road.
So
When
you
he needs to maintain it, he'll maintain it. Well,
Okay.
I will.
So do we need to put anything else in there? Are you?
No, he's
You've got
been-
what you need and.
No, he's been maintaining it, so.
I'll take care of it.
He takes care of it when he comes up, and this year, Chris and Scott used to do the plowing and stuff for us and the sanding and salting, and he's taking that over, because Chris has just got that one small plow truck. It's not gonna work, so we haven't had any issues, and whenever we've had an issue, he's sent either Dave or somebody up to do the grading, and we haven't had any complaints on the road. None. Isn't that nice? So
Well,
well,
it's moving forward.
All right.
we got some gravel. If we need some gravel on our back road or whatever, there's plenty of
I'll
gravel.
keep it, I'll pay it.
All right.
So at some point, at some point, we'll do it. Probably when you retire and I'm close. How's that? So I inherit this one.
All right, folks, any other questions on the transfer? It's a very good budget. Any other questions on it?
I have a question.
Sure.
Has anything been done with the fees? Like you made these proposals and haven't heard nothing since?
Yeah, for start of, usually our cycle starts in March, so we're gonna see some things changing. Yeah, we had talked about the fees and where we wanted to go and the direction we're going. I think in the first of the year, we'll figure out what's going on with our fees and stuff. Because again, I don't think that we should be we wanna do the right thing. I don't wanna feel like we're profiteering or using it, running it as a business. And I know I see Matt's in there, and basically, you do too much, or we try to be restrictive, and then it just, all it's gonna do is make the cost go up everywhere. And I think that we had some good ideas about where we wanted to go, about demo, reducing the amount of demo by having people rent dumpster fees going up a little bit. And I'll have that proposal in the spring. We're gonna do something and make it right, make it fair for everybody. Like I said, there's nothing now that's, you tear down a house and you can haul it to the transfer station. I don't think that's, every taxpayer should be paying for something like that. So you will see something, yes, and it'll be more organized. I think we had 200 things that I had on the list, and I think I've got them organized for the spring, so we can actually sit down and say, this is what I want to do. This will make it fair for everybody, and not punishing and hurting anybody, or have them still in the town office saying what's going on. So.
Well, the one thing I was thinking in particular was the first of the year is dump stickers.
Yeah,
All the dump sticker has to go away. That's just, that's insane. And so that usually happens though sooner than you're talking about in the spring.
Usually was March before we start the whole sticker.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. Usually by the time we order them and all the other towns order them, we don't get them until waiting to, usually the first week of March.
Okay.
So you think you do a big sticker drive to get everybody to update their stickers?
Yeah.
Oh, they come in as soon as they know the stickers are out, when we tell
And
them.
like one of the things that
Droves of people come in.
I still think that everybody said that they still think that that's the best system out there to be able to track people. I know better because me and David found out, we found people who live in Burnham that have dump stickers from the town of Pittsfield, and they got them from the town office because they said they were hauling their grandmother's trash or whatever, and the system is flawed. Everything you're gonna try to do is flawed, but at some point, somewhere down the road, it would almost behoove us to look at doing a biannual sticker or something, and maybe having it, instead of having a fee on it, put it with their tax bill or something. When they pay their taxes, they get it, because that way you know that they're paying taxes in town of Pittsfield, and they're here, they're resident of Pittsfield.
Oh, just send it out with their tax bill?
Yeah. But no matter what you do, it's a flawed system. We found people that have come in before. I know where they live, and I say, you don't live in Pittsfield. Well, I got a dump sticker. Well, I'd like to know how you get a dump sticker. Well, my grandmother gave it to me because I haul her garbage. Well, she's not supposed to be going to get a dump sticker for you to put on your truck when you live in Burnham. And I watched them come from Burnham. I followed them into the transfer station. I know that it came from Burnham.
So Donnie, until we change the system, we should go over that letter that we give for the temporary one time to haul in for your grandmother or relative or
I think a lot of it is, it's just like I feel the same way about locks. It keeps you honest people. And that's basically what a lock does. But they're always going to have that. Dave on the weekend, it's not normal, anything abnormal, I should say, for him to send away 3 or 4 people from other towns on Saturdays. 15 or 20 more likely. Yeah. So you got to be careful. You got to be on the ball, because people will try to pull it over on you.
I know, I can't imagine doing that.
It is.
We're one of the few places you can go.
You can't be going down baling 10 tons of cardboard with 3 of us or 4 of us trying to work that off in a day's work and try to run up and hit every person sometimes. So it's
there almost needs to be like eventually it almost needs to be like a gatehouse that you kind of like drive through and somebody's there looking at what you got and they're like,
Harlan does that.
Yeah.
Eventually
A lot of
that's
places
something.
have that.
yeah, you know, just something that's kind of like, all right, buddy, like you know, just something where you can have that one-on-one attention.
It's like those ones that come in all the time, and they got all of this building debris, and it says Brian James and Son Contractor, Brewer, Maine. Are you a contractor? No, I'm not a contractor. Well, wait a minute, you got building debris, you're doing a job in Pittsfield, but you're not a contractor. Wait a minute, that's what I know. What part of that don't I understand? But, and then having to send them up here, that they all don't, they don't want to be bothered by having to come up and pay a fee. And I envision that someday, whether we stay on site where we're at, or at some time DEP says it's time for us to move our facility somewhere else, that, you know, having that gatehouse or scale house and being able to do the same thing as a town office, somebody can come in and they can swipe a debit card and say, there you go, it's okay, it's $20 fee if you can get rid of your demo, it's right there.
It's a good job for a retired guy.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, it's hard to envision what.
Like I said, that we're gonna do things better. I think that's one way to improve. Like I said, was with that demo there's a lot of demo generated, just like the same way with couches. There's what 4,300 people, residents in town, and we do 16,000 couches and 8,640 TVs, and it's like it amazes you where it all comes from. And Matt knows because he builds his business on it. You know, it's like where are they getting all this stuff?
The TVs just amaze me. They haven't made the tube TV for how many years now, and they're still coming.
I'm still getting the 1950s consoles at like 750 pounds.
It just amazes me.
I still have my black and white
So
TV.
it's,
I haven't
yeah,
bought
but those
it.
fees are coming, and we're gonna make it a little bit better. So
The tax bill thing makes a little bit of sense to me. Like, just like this is your tax bill. Here's an extra $5 or $20 or you know whatever it is, and here's your dump sticker. Like all as like just line itemed out.
The only problem with that is people who rent,
Yeah, that's true.
because we have
There's
houses
a
that
lot of
are
people that
for
rent.
rent.
And
And
then
we're a landlord, we rent out property, and those people use the dump.
Yeah.
So,
So you'd
but
almost
we
have to
pay the
do
tax bill because it's our
But you get a
property.
sticker for each of those properties.
right.
You know, you don't get
But
one
there's
tax bill.
a unit that
You
has
get-
4 units, or a house that has 4 units in it, I get 1 sticker. Who do I give that to?
Well, there should be a way that, you know, if it's structured that way, there
If it's
should
a
be a
4
way that
unit,
you
we
can say
should
there's
know
4
that,
units
yeah.
here,
Yeah.
then I need 4 stickers, you know, and then they go.
Because we don't include trash in there.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, we don't include trash, so we're paying for their stickers,
Right.
which is not included in their rent.
It's not a perfect system, that's for
That's
sure.
right.
No, I'm playing devil's advocate here, as somebody who does do rental properties.
Yeah, and not to sound like Captain Obvious here, but if anybody did have some demo, or they want to clean off a property, if they went to Donnie and said, look, I don't know much about this, what's the best way to go about this? They'll walk you right straight through it and make it just as easy as they possibly can.
This is one of the things that we've been doing, and I'm surprised you haven't heard the repercussion yet, is we have closed the wood pile and the brush pile. And somebody come in the other day and was tearing down a building and said, well, I got all this stuff and, well, it's building debris, so it's gonna go down in the demo can. No, it's not, there's clean wood in there. We're open from the first weekend in April to the first weekend in November, and now in the middle of the winter, we're not gonna pay $75 a ton to get rid of clean wood when we don't have to. Well, what do you want me to do with it? The wood pile's closed. If you want to call Bolster, you can pay them to bring a dumpster. But if you've got pressure treated wood, you've got sheet rock and that other type of demo debris, that's what that can is for in the furniture. It's not made for clean wood. And last year, people started taking advantage of it. They'd come in with pickup loads of 2x4s and clean wood, and we were hauling that demo can 4 times a week, and it was costing us $75 a ton to get rid of clean wood.
The OPW.
They're putting it in the OBW, and people take advantage of it. No. So we told them, if you want to get rid of the clean wood, there's a number of options. You can wait until the spring. You can burn it in your backyard, or you can call Bolster, Sullivan, or whoever you decide that you want, and you can have them set a demo can there, and you can put all your clean wood, and you can pay to get rid of it. And people have been, but they understand that, you know, that would be just like us throwing rocks, just sitting there and shoveling dirt into the compactor out there. You know, how
Makes no
many
sense.
tons of dirt we got to pay for? It's
Why
like
is it-
shoveling snow in it. You know, that irks me.
Yeah.
We used to do that. I used to have a guy that every time I turned my back, he'd shovel, one of my workers would shovel snow in the compactor. I'm like, don't shovel snow in there. That costs, you're paying per ton. You put 10 tons of snow in there. That costs us $700. What's the matter with you?
Why do you close the wood pit and
Because the access to get in and out of it,
Oh,
first
okay.
of all.
keeping it?
We've had too many accidents with people going down there and, yeah.
Going off the road.
Yeah. And then the other problem is getting somebody down there to push up the piles, and then like you've been down there in the summertime when they can't back up to the pile, they've got it strewed a half a mile under
Yeah.
things, so nobody can get near it, and then it's a mess. And
That's not fun to go in the summertime.
no, it's not, yeah, and that's the other thing too, is you go down there, we had a couple of winters that we were open. I think we paid maybe for 15 or 18 tires. People complain because they run over with nails. Well, when they're down there and it freezes in the ice, the nails are sticking out in different places, and we get people who just have a rash of flat tires. So
It's also very hard to maintain
We'll put a
properly.
tire- they have flat ones.
Right, if
We'll put a
there's
tire
wood,
next
pressure
to it.
treated wood down there, which you can't allow. If it's covered in snow, it's kind of hard to see until spring when DEP comes in and says, oh, by the way, here's your fine. You don't want that either.
yeah, it's just.
Oh, because they don't want you burning pressure treated?
No.
You're not allowed to, that's a.
Yeah, I just didn't know how, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they come down and pick through that.
It's just like you look at that sign that says clean wood. It says no pressure treated, you know, no tar paper, whatever, and you go down there and somebody will have the stuff and then they'll take it off and you go down there and they'll be pressure treated and they'll come back and you threw that pressure treated. No, I didn't. Well, you're the only one that was here since the last time you were here and there's pressure treated wood right there in that pile. Is that where you put it? Well, that wasn't me. I said, I know it was you. I said, I'll throw you out for the rest of the year. Oh yeah, that wasn't me. I'll pick it up. Well, it's the same thing as a one-stop shop. Some people, it's again, one of those things that people. I understand people are busy, but we're
Lazy.
environmentally, we have to pay attention. Everybody just goes down. It's the same way. You'll see brush pile and the board pile. They'll come in with boards and they'll go over and dump them in the brush pile. When you see all the boards over there and there's not one board in the brush pile, but that's where they dump them. And that again makes it problematic. In the wintertime, it would just be too much to maintain.
He even makes me pick steel out of the brush pile. When I dump steel in the brush pile.
Okay.
All right, folks, transfer station budget, is there any other questions on this, councilors? No? Okay, not hearing any sense, you ready to vote? All those in favor of the transfer station budget as written, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay? Ayes have it, and that passes as written.
So the next budget is the recycling processing facility that has come in at $102,972. And that is a decrease of that is an increase of 3.2%. No, I didn't write down that. Oh, that's not good, I missed that. All right, it came in at $102,972, which is an increase of $5,754. And I didn't write down the amount of the increase. So, $5,754.
Just about 5%.
Yeah.
And so part of that would be the health insurance. And I will be making an adjustment for that, for the public hearing. And then we've got an increase in the general supplies. And a few little increases and decreases all through.
What's the plan? I know you always said you wanted to like replace one of your storage trailers so you can use one, like actually put product in there. What's the plan to replace one of those? Is that possible with this budget, or are you gonna use like?
I have some funds in my recycling reserve.
Okay.
So I do have some monies available for that. It was just like with our building there, it came in, I think it came in just under 4,000. I had 7,500. So what little bit we need to finish off that new office we have, it's in there. In that reserve, I have stuff for containers and for trailers and that sort of stuff. So replacement of a baler. So I think my reserve is in pretty good shape. I think Catherine is 58,000 or something, I think.
Yes, plus you remember that the funds that were realized from the sale of the old waste transporter are going in the account.
Correct. Yeah, so there's gonna be, there's money there to do that. One of the things that we're also looking at is a replacement of the oldest downstroke baler that we do plastic in. So, yeah, there's money in the reserve. I keep that pretty stable, so.
To keep you rolling forward so you're not falling
It's,
behind.
not falling behind,
Yeah.
and that's, I think there was many years we did, I think I did like 5, and then I did 10, and then we went a couple of years and did another 10. So we've been very fortunate. That's where I get my roll-off containers from too.
Yeah.
I make sure that I have enough so I can always have a couple sitting in that reserve in case I need them, something happens, I can go out and purchase a bit of one of those containers.
I was just thinking where you said you were shipping out more product lately, that would be a help. You need storage space, I'm sure.
Yeah, and it's one of those things that that was one of those dreams that I had, that with them 2 storage trailers are up top that are rotting away, falling apart as you go around the upstairs building, was putting a lean-to there so we could store our spare boxes and all of our bale stuff underneath it. But I have to do some modifications to my licensing permit. I don't even know if DEP will allow it. We have to apply to see if they would amend our license and let us do that. So I've got all the stuff together to do that, to see if they would even allow us to do that at some point.
If we just replaced it with another trailer though that had a solid bottom so you could drive your forklift, would that be a help, or does it?
Yeah, oh yeah, that's what was my plan. That was having one and still having that roof over it, still lean to, so you could store stuff in one and the other one could be ready just to, again, for storage. That's one thing we don't have a lot of.
Yeah, under construction.
It's just like look at Newport. The engineers 35 years ago when they developed the triangle stuff never thought that there was going to be that many business and that amount of traffic. It was the same with our facility. When we built that, we never thought, hey, what are we going to need 30 years from now? And maybe we should have looked somewhere else in the beginning to have our facility, because we're kind of
Enveloped in.
We're enveloped into that footprint now. We can't do much with it because of the landfill. We do a lot. We do. You've seen it. We make do with a little bit of space, make it go a long ways. But
Yeah. That would be something that doesn't need to be discussed tonight probably, but it would be something that would be good to start thinking about, is where is the recycling center and the transfer station in 15 or 20 years, and what do we need to start setting aside?
One of the things that everybody else is doing, and I'll tell you, one of the things, Caleb, I think that we need to be thinking about, is where I envision it, is we're living in a civilized world, and I know it's very convenient for us to have our own transfer station, but I think that we need to look at futuristic as doing our, not having a transfer station recycling center, actually having a recycling center, and doing our trash curbside, and then having our recycling center wherever it's open. And that's where most towns are doing now. Like that's what Canaan's doing. We're doing curbside. They pick their own trash hauler, and we have a couple cleanup weekends where they come in and we set containers at our recycling facility. They can bring them in as a temporary thing, and they haul off 10 or 15 containers on those weekends. You could do it quarterly, like Palmyra does. But I think that's the future, because any time that you're looking, I will tell you, I've gone through the permitting process, the licensing. We've been looking for land in Canaan because they like the idea of having a transfer station. Last dollar value for engineering and environmental was well over $15 million. In that little community that serves that number of people, it's not worth it. It's not worth it. For the engineering, because again, you have to have all new geo design with your water and your groundwater. I mean,
I guess I misunderstand what is really going on, as far as the permitting for something like that.
It is. And
so the best thing to do is to do curbside pickup.
You just can't pop up a transfer station anywhere.
Yeah.
Side of the road. It's like a landfill. You couldn't site a landfill just anywhere. It has to meet certain parameters, and there's a lot of geological testing. They have to do a lot of the groundwater testing. But everybody has this theory of a dump or this landfilling. Well, a transfer station, again, it hasn't any environmental impact, no matter which way you look at it. Because if you've got people bringing TVs in there and they get broken, or mercury bulbs, and You got people that throw drums, or look at the waste oil containers that we dump waste oil, recycle waste oil, and then those go into a compactor. Do you think that at any given time that's 100% taken care of in my leachate that gets pumped out? It's eventually it's going to get in the environment. Same way with Matt. His trash trucks, eventually you're going to get a leak somewhere, and when he's crushing that trash together, it's got all of that stuff that's in there. It's not dripping down the road and going somewhere. It's just like the stuff coming out of your tailpipe. The gasoline going into the storm drain when you sit out here over a storm drain. I mean, you can limit the impact. You can't eliminate it.
So if that site, do you think we could get permitting for that site to be just a transfer station? I mean, just a recycling center?
No, we would get right off of it. We would class it as a closed landfill. It would be closed.
But it would be cheaper to have it'd be a lot cheaper to have permitting for just a recycling center?
Yeah, because you don't have to meet those environmental parameters as you do. It falls under mercantile or under processing. So you could put a building up in the industrial park. Originally, when we talked about this, when I first started working, that was the talk, is they were going to actually have the recycling center up in the industrial park where all the cardboard and all the recycling would be done. Because the landfill was still open in 1985, so 86 when they closed it. So now that's the problem. Everything, Steve talked about the gravel, he put in my little humps that are caving in. Why are those humps caving in on the landfills? Because we gotta have some place to push snow. If you leave the snow in the winter, you got stuff breaking down, and now what's happening is that liner and that cover is starting to cave in on that. Where's that stuff gonna go? Eventually it's gonna go into the groundwater. That's why we had to remove all the trees. They're afraid of the roots getting
Well,
in.
the cap shape for the groundwater shed off,
Right.
and they don't want the divots because they hold water, so you gotta maintain the divots
Yeah,
as they show up.
and the sad thing is, Kim, is think about that landfill up there. We have to financially maintain that for the rest of all of our natural lives and our kids' lives, because that's stuff that we burned and buried there.
Right.
So whether you're there or not, it isn't like it can just be grow into trees.
Well,
It's
the
got
problem
always
is they
have to
really
be
don't want us.
mowed.
We're one of 4 in the state of Maine transfer stations that still operate on a landfill or an old landfill. They don't, when they close landfills, they gate them, you're supposed to fence them in, gate them in, they close. They don't want no activity because they don't want anything that you do on that landfill is gonna have an impact, environmental impact.
And you can't let it grow up to trees.
Grow
So you gotta
trees,
keep it
you gotta make
mowed, just like you guys do right
You
now.
maintain it forever.
Yeah.
So if you do curbside pickup, where does that go?
Right.
Well, that would either go to PERC or it would go to a landfill, but where it's going now, the difference is that we're not operating on a landfill, on our landfill. Because I will tell you, if for some reason there's a break in my groundwater monitoring, and when I go around and do my testing, and if it goes over to test bad for something, you know what's gonna happen? It's gonna cost you millions of dollars to dig that back up, put liners back in, or ship it out somewhere else. It's not gonna be, it's huge. I mean, it costs Waste Management in Orange Walk, cell 1 and 2, you can ask Matt. There's one been there for 5 years, and then all of a sudden you see them digging it up and moving it over, trucking it over there. I mean, they must spend millions of dollars just digging it up, burying it, digging it back up, burying it over there because they don't meet parameters.
So we have an unusual situation.
We do,
which
and
we're
it's
taken
unique.
care of well.
And it will take care of us for a good many years, but at some point, you should be thinking about what we're gonna do. And I think just putting a transfer station somewhere else, again, you'll have to meet all the, one of the requirements is that the nearest residence can't be within 2,500 feet of the boundary. So where are you gonna put that in Pittsfield? There's all this, as we start growing in houses and we have residentials and farms, where are you gonna put this? You gotta find it where it's
Yeah,
at.
I think that what you're saying probably makes the most sense to not have a transfer station and do curbside pickup and just
Right.
whether you do pay per bag or whether you do
That's
whatever.
whether
That probably makes the most sense. And probably, realistically, it's probably not bad to have that be in not like a 20-year plan, but have it be like in maybe a shorter term plan, you know. But and then just build a new building somewhere else that's a big steel building that's just a recycling,
Yeah.
right? And really push the recycling. I mean, I
And
don't
so
know.
it'd be the same way, it would be like us jumping into it now, whether we do curbside and have town employees do it, I'm not in favor of that. It's like the plowing. I would be in favor of that. You've got companies like Bolsters and Pine Tree and all these others that already have money invested in trucks, and man, I probably would venture into going out and buying $400,000 worth of trash trucks and, $500,000 worth of salaries, because again, it wouldn't be.
It would be interesting at some point to see what your budget
Study
would
needs to be
look
done.
like
Right.
if you didn't do that. I mean, if you didn't have to be a transfer station,
Right.
obviously there'd be more on the recycling side. But it'd just be kind of interesting to see.
And again, you could do some same thing. People worry about like their couches and chairs and TVs and that sort of stuff. TVs now with recycling, couches and chairs and that sort of stuff. You could do
Bulky waste day.
every bi-monthly day where you set 2 or 3 of those roll-off containers at the recycling facility you put them, because it's temporary.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it more than, I think if you do it more than 15 days a year, then they're saying you're trying to get away with not having a transfer station.
So it's unusual for a town to site a transfer station
Yeah.
now, and usually the private sector, will site a recycling facility.
Yeah.
So, recycling reserve currently has $71,933 in it, plus we have the funds from the sale of the old waste transporter, which is $15,000 to go into the account by the end of the year. So, recycling is in very good shape.
All right, council, any other questions on the recycling processing facility budget? No? Okay, not hearing any, since you're ready to vote, all those in favor of the recycling budget, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Thank you, Donnie. Thank you for department heads for coming in. And next is theater.
It is theater,
Which
and
is really too bad we don't have the theater.
yes, we don't, and I did remind her, so I could go make a phone call if you wanted to take a break, because we still have additional.
Hey, folks, is everybody in favor of taking like a 5 to 6, 7 minute break? We'll try to make this as quick as we
See,
can.
if
Have no-
not, we can go to
I think it's good for them to be here.
We should at least give them a phone call.
Yeah.
Remind them. That way they can kind of present that stuff. If they don't, then they don't. But, it's gonna look bad if nobody shows up and they all goes.
I don't know. I don't know. Part of me just kind of thinks maybe we should bump up the whole plan for the transfer station. Switch to something like that. To curbside pickup.
So if towns have curbside pickup, is it contracts with somebody to do?
I think it can go both ways, right? The town could contract.
You could contract, the
Oh,
town
just,
could contract for you, or you contract.
Just want to let you guys know too,
Yeah.
I forgot to mention that in the recycling budget. I think Eric can say it, but you noticed that one of the attendants that I put in there is a promotion. Dave is going to be my number 2.
I was wondering about that, and I thought maybe it was just listed out of
No,
order.
he is going to be
that
my
there
number
was,
2. We've had that money set aside for years, but
Because it said attendant and then assistant attendant.
Assistant.
yeah. I will tell you, and I don't know if Matt's experienced it yet or not, but I've had many employees that have had that money sitting there to give to what I would call my second when I go on vacation. Dave's been a godsend. He's helped with maintenance, he's learning stuff, he's got a conscience. I don't have, he's called me once the whole time that I've been taking time off. When stuff's there, I don't have to worry about coming back. There's 3 weeks worth of material that needs to get done, that needs to be bailed in the recycling center because somebody decides they want to sit around. Everything's done. He's gone above and beyond. I give him a list of stuff to do. He does more than what I asked him to do. So it's
And he
it's
does what
nice.
he asked him to do, he's strict too.
I told him no to Steve, and Steve says, your man told me no. He's doing exactly what I told him. Sorry, but
No, I understood. But he did, he says, nope,
It's
Follow
been,
instructions.
Aside here from
it
Bob?
has
Nope.
been a godsend. I'll tell you what,
I don't like
it's
to
nice
follow
that
rules.
I don't come back and say, well, why are those 3 containers that you got, I've been gone for a week and a half, why did none of those get done? Oh, we were busy doing other things. Like what? I come in this is what's been bailed and this is what's here. Hey, I don't have to worry about the date.
Those games that Bolster brings in is money for this town. I like making money, I like saving money.
He's a great choice. He's a great choice.
And he's learned a lot with the compactors, going under, showing the hydraulics and the mechanicals of it. He can troubleshoot stuff rather than before somebody would call, had no mechanical aptitude, didn't want nothing to do with it. They call Valley, and it was the $500 just to come look at the machine, plus $5 a mile that they charge me coming from Lisbon Falls or wherever they're coming from. It's like, really? All it was, if you went down there, it's a micro switch. See it? Oh, no, plug it back in. You just spent $1,000 that we didn't need to spend. But again, some people don't want to deal with it. Some people don't want to go under there. They did, because it is dirty. It is nasty. But that's why I got those little white suits for. You put on your little Martian suit, you get under there, oh, there it is.
You pay me for a reason.
So, yeah, it's nice, and I wanted to make sure that you knew that. I didn't hear her say that, but and that's why I had to come in and see what the budget process was.
You have 2 empty cans, by the way, that need to come out, and I need full ones.
All right. We can hook you up.
It wasn't all of us.
Good.
It's the end of last year it started.
Well.
And that's part of the reason why our materials got a lot more materials. If you take care and sure that we got hired a young kid. He's Green? Green. He hasn't turned out to be what I thought he was going to be. I can see why he worked part-time at McDonald's. Very physically capable, but I don't think that he's driven or mentally able to understand some of the stuff. He's a good kid, but very slow, I don't know if you've seen him up here, I don't know if you've seen the Trailer Park Boys, but he looks like Bubbles, the kind of character Bubbles. He walks around. I'm always going, hey, yeah, what?
People had to have her down there.
Yeah, you can tell he's my little loser out there with his hat on. Because he's,
I need to set up.
this is how bad it is. We do the multi-bin out here, we're doing paper stuff. He's not smart enough to understand to watch your head, so every time he picks his head up, he hits his head.
Yeah, the important ones we throw
Boom,
away.
boom, it's like,
You're gonna recycle, those can be.
that's why I got a hard hat.
in the
Yeah, that's why you've got a hard hat on, is because you can't watch your
Because
head.
they're a
Nice
number
enough
2.
kid.
Are you guys?
have a temp
Sorry.
guy that's really.
Are they recycling number 2?
I got a temp guy
Yeah,
that we've got up
that's
there
like
right now.
decent money for it.
That's our
That's
core.
filling in.
Yeah.
He works better than
I don't know why.
the guy, the kid
We
that I just hired.
just started.
And he works better than
We
JP
put it in a metal
and that
bin
kid.
finally, because we don't have
This
that
guy's
much metal,
pretty
but,
good.
like, we just found they're like, it's stupid, throw a starter or an alternator away.
Yeah, it's nice to have.
That cost,
And you know
whatever
what?
it costs per pound to get rid of it,
He's like me.
So, you get paid for it instead, so.
And he's
Or the town could get paid for it instead
Them
of
to- with him and
hating it.
and him being there,
But just little stuff like that, that
I could send that. up.
probably, there's a lot of stuff that businesses.
Yeah, you don't have to unless you want
register, you know.
Don't think of it.
How much?
Yeah, because
You
if
can
it's
do
busy,
that.
it's just a
You
few
can
of
do
us,
that.
but everybody in town.
What did we figure, Timmy, there was 20,
Yeah.
there was 20,000 pounds that they kept, so that was about 10 ton they kept out the reuse on their side of it, and I think I'm at like 70-something thousand
Mm-hmm.
pounds, 35 or 40 tons.
It's not running in weeks for you.
That doesn't go over, because 90% of what I get doesn't get across the street. The lumber that comes out of there.
Did you see the use of World's largest 3D printer?
I wasn't able to reach James, so
You guys need me?
We tried.
I'll answer it as best as I can.
No worries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for coming in.
Yeah, have a good Thanksgiving.
All right, so the only one that has an additional is you for the Public Works Forum, and you have your Darago thing, which is fine. And then you had the additional Public Works individuals.
Do you need me then?
No, because you are already.
Already been
You're on
to
set. You're on set on that. Hold the other.
Huh?
So you have your Public Works, another staff.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yes. At finance. You should be all set.
Should be all set.
That's why I was asking. I was asking for
They moved
something.
this weekend, I'm so excited for them. So Abby has her
You
first
thinking I better
own
stay?
bedroom.
Well, no, do I need?
She's so excited.
They told
Yes,
us
we
it's a
did.
good idea, but not everybody was at the meeting.
See you. You too.
I think it's probably,
You wanna do his first?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you guys do
Just
this
do
first.
his first. All
Are we
right.
gonna do
We'll skip
theater
over the
and then
theater right
additional?
now. We can skip
Just
over.
do
We can do the theater dead last if you guys want to, that way we're not tying
In
people
case
up
somebody
if
does
we have
come.
to.
Yeah,
Does everybody agree with that?
Yeah.
I'm surprised Trevor's not here for the theater, she must not be feeling good.
She's not feeling well, but she's getting a lot better. She'll
Is
be
she?
fine in a little while.
Yeah.
Yep, she'll be really good, like new.
Like
new.
A new Deborah.
Slightly,
Good morning.
slightly new.
Nothing like that.
All right.
I've been able
She's
to-
watching.
My additionals.
Yes, I have copies of that over on the table in case you need it. Which I put in here.
You're welcome. Since I'm up there, there's no reason for you
Now, they're under your tab. Tab.
Yeah, but you can, that way you can have, you can look at it.
Yeah, then you can give it back to me. All right, let me find the page for public work. It's near the back.
Tab 10.
All right. Skip back, going from the back, 1, 2, 3 pages, we've got personnel services. He requested a mechanic for $20 an hour plus the benefit package.
Where is this, Kathy?
Yeah, so in the additionals, going from the back, because it's easier.
Going from the back. okay.
Yeah, go, page 1, page 2, page 3. So go up 3 pages from the back. It will say Public Works Personnel Services, $60,992.
Yeah.
Here.
I know, these come from everywhere, so they don't have page numbers. But we can work on that for next year. So the Public Works foreman had requested at the Finance Committee meeting, one of the first ones as the budget was being put together, that if we weren't going to put all the overtime in the budget, because he had put in a large figure for that, that really it would be more efficient, which we thought would be more efficient if there was another individual. And so he mentioned it should be a mechanic. So Steve suggested $20 an hour. And then the benefits of cost, it comes to $60,992.
Will you get one for $20 an hour?
Can you get anyone now?
Yeah.
Even at that, Howard, it's gonna be, you know.
Yeah.
It's gonna be tough.
Yeah.
Well, I think it depends on how far somebody wants to travel. I'm willing to take a budget cut if I don't have to travel 2 hours round trip.
Well,
Oh, my goodness,
it's,
yeah.
That's what I do right now.
it's tough. You're gonna have to wait and see what it comes in at. I mean, because the guy come in, he may wanna apply for the job, but he may very well say to you, I need $24 an hour. At that point, you gotta look at his qualifications and whether that's worth that figure or not. But if I have a guy that's got a good mechanical aptitude and does understand mechanics, you don't need to be the top-notch mechanic coming through the door. He could be in the $20 an hour range. While I have Timmy available, which is my mechanic, you can learn from Timmy. And Timmy's not long going out the door. So.
So even if we brought somebody in at that level, if we
he's
get
gonna
at
be
that level and train them, then we
He's
can talk
gonna be
about.
like Timmy. I mean, all duties as assigned.
Yeah.
If there isn't any mechanic work, you're gonna go do something else.
Right.
Mhm.
So I'm in hopes that I can get somebody at $20 an hour.
Yeah, you should
Will
be
that
able
work
to.
out for me? I do not know that, but that's my goal.
Plus benefits, don't forget his benefits.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
well, and that's what the one thing,
The
though,
benefits, that's the other
Basic
part, you know?
that's the one thing, if you do get somebody for that, you'll get them because of that.
Correct.
Yeah.
I mean, there is an attraction, so you hope, that's what I'm shooting for. That's what I wanna try to get, somebody through the door, that's a mechanic, has a good mechanical aptitude,
Mhm.
maybe a Class B, some other skills, get his Class B or C or whatever. All-purpose kind of guy, $20 an hour that wants to be close to home, with some decent benefits.
Sounds like a job to me.
Yeah, then you don't have to answer phones every 5 minutes all day.
Yeah, not hire you too much.
Here, we just put Matt right down on this.
Catherine, how much was spent on overtime?
All right, to date, overtime, and for part of, for a few months of the year, you didn't have the person that was hired being the plower.
Correct.
Correct, so you would have more overtime in that
In-
aspect,
in-
but then these storms and everything, it's different every
In
year.
coverage. The winters are different.
Let me pull them out.
It's all a crap.
Light one.
It's all a crapshoot.
Doing cold patch on Saturday, like,
Oh.
yeah, really.
It just seems like,
We've almost got November in the bag though.
I know.
If
So,
the road would freeze up, you wouldn't break up,
Yeah.
at least for the winter. But with these freeze thaws, rains, I'm telling you, it's killing me. I'm gonna have to buy another load patch pretty soon anyway. I'm about out, so.
so overtime this year through the end of November, or the last warrant and payroll, was $23,416.71.
And for a three-man crew in St. Albans, they're
Which is
all
high,
$17,000.
but they have the first one turned.
So you took away that 23,000 to replace it with 60-something thousand with benefits included?
The way
No,
the
you
men
didn't take
were,
that.
you can explain the way the men were working was not healthy during, they didn't have enough staffing to do all
Well,
the
they
routes.
working, 20-hour days kind of thing, yeah.
It was not you know,
One
not
day, I
good.
think one day we had no sleep, so.
I mean, I can do that here in the office, but I'm not
Sure.
using equipment, which is dangerous.
No, on the right kind of storm, I can get it done with a three-man crew. I did that on one of these storms that we had. On another storm, this last one, I had everybody in.
So how many, I guess I haven't really poured through all these, how many, I mean, this seems like a decent additional request, but how many do we have, and do you kind of have an idea where we're at with the budget without the additionals, and then what it would be like if we did most of these, or?
Well, I doubt you can do all of the additional. So right
Yep.
now, you made just minor changes, you've just added an item, but we're gonna reduce the health insurance, so you're probably still in a 10% increase in the budget,
With no additionals?
with no additional.
Wow.
Do we,
You just have to look and see where we have to be and whatever it's gotta be, it ends up happening.
So
And
the-
if you don't,
Well, they haven't set the goals, you know,
You ain't
the
got it,
cap
you know,
this
that's
year,
not-
so I don't know where we
Did you,
have to be.
do you have a question, Heather?
I was just wondering, the finance committee, when we had a meeting two meetings ago? 2 or 3 meetings ago, and we went through the additionals and we discussed them, and I have my notes sort of from here. Maybe we can, you guys have notes too? Maybe we can go through and fill them in on what we discussed about. Like, do you have this list too? Was that part of your financial thing for the additionals?
It's
Yeah,
in the top,
it's in front.
yeah, it's in the top part of the financial, is
Does
the
that have a
master
list
list.
of all the,
Yeah.
all the additionals that
The
you asked
master
about the
list is
total?
all-
So we went through and we had our meeting and we discussed all these and read through the descriptions and everything. The first one was the finance, but the public works one was number 5, and we thought that both of the requests for public works were appropriate and beneficial, including the engineering, so that there's money available if projects come up, that we can have the engineering done. It could be 3 projects to be designed or cast out a large number of projects that have a list. You have a list going that you need engineering done on, like Library Street and a couple other things in town.
You got Birchwood Terrace.
Right, but there's no money in the budget right now to have engineering done in advance of doing projects, so the thinking was to do the engineering on some of them ahead of time, so that they're like shovel ready, basically, when we're ready to do the projects. If something else comes up and the road needs to be dug up or something, then you already know what you're going to do.
You also have a more accurate cost from out of that engineering too.
Right, you know what you need to do for the project. So that was, so as far as public works, the finance committee, I think, was recommending both of those items.
So I put the engineering in because the way that we're doing it now, you know, we got by the first year, but we should have the projects ready to go and know which ones they're gonna be, and then we might be able to bid them out at different times of the year and package them with other things that could save us money and be more efficient, instead of designing it as we go along and then finding out how much it's gonna cost. And I've used engineering in other towns, and here, when I first came here, we had, the road issue was very similar. So we had to figure out the cost of all the roads, and at that time, we had a very inexpensive engineering firm who pretty much, you know, for very little money, came up with the cost for fixing up all the gravel roads and bringing them up to pavement, as well as a number of the problematic roads that should be rebuilt out in the country, and then a couple in the urban area. And so that was extremely helpful, but any information we have from way back then is really outdated. So it seemed efficient to put out an RFP and then either design fully several projects or put together, you know, quite a few projects and know what the costs are, and then we could put them into the capital plan. Instead of having just the paving, we have a capital plan of the problematic projects.
Correct.
The ones that need the engineering, mostly in the urban area. It seems
That kind of
sensible.
answers your
Yes.
question.
It seems
Yeah.
sensible.
I think it's, I mean, I know that we have to have increases. I understand that. I think we ended up at 8% roughly last year, and we had quite a crowd in here, kind of. And they were, you know, they had some good points, you know, and I don't know what.
One of the points is they can't give you what they don't have.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing. Now, in this, I don't want anybody to be under any illusions here. If this passes, which we can justify in the long scheme of things, I think that would pay for itself. But in the short run, if everybody thinks that overtime's always, every bit of it's going to go away because we hire that position, they're sadly mistaken. Because you can't dictate that.
That's not gonna happen, and I said that right in the
Yeah,
beginning.
because I mean, you don't know
It
what's
does not
coming.
work that way.
No, you don't know what's coming.
Correct.
You can't,
You
you know.
gotta cover whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I said, this last storm, to get everything done in the peripheral and in town,
Because I mean, that's the.
everybody was in.
I mean, you got to understand, Steve. That first thing they're going to say is, "Wow, if you gave you that, but then you said that this was, you know, now we still got overtime." Well, you're going to have it. It's going to happen. It depends on the weather. It depends on what's going on.
It depends on the water leak, it
Yeah.
depends on whatever.
Are we better off just searching for another contractor that can fulfill our plowing needs, and then we know that, say it's gotta be 125,000, say, to plow the roads, we know that figure, we don't have this open-ended checkbook, so to speak. We wouldn't have to worry about our overtime.
And we don't have the bennies to pay.
Well, no,
You
that's-
should find
we're not
a
asking-
company that would do
We're
that.
not asking for a guy just for plowing. I mean, bottom line is you can say we're not gonna fill that position this year. The other end of that is I am gonna try to contact out lawn services, so I'll gain the availability that I have for the guy that I supply for that, if we do that, in the summer, but I don't gain anything in the winter. Can I get by with what I got for the winter? Absolutely, as long as I don't have a man go down either, and then that's the other part of it, or leave or whatever. So, I think the smart thing is bite the bullet and have a mechanic online. Like I said, I'm looking at 4 or 5 years maximum. Timmy's gonna retire.
Yeah, your whole crew is really an aging point,
Correct.
you know,
So-
everybody's.
You gotta have some transition there. You gotta plan ahead a little bit, and that's one of the things I'm trying to do.
Didn't we discuss in January, am I remembering this correctly, changing back over to a contract for snow removal? So that we don't have to pay
For snow
benefits, we
removal?
don't have to worry about, I know that's not the whole purpose for this position.
No, we've always done snow removal, all of it, all the snow removal, that's one of the.
Because then we don't have liability, we don't
We've
have
always done.
any of that if we're contracting it.
Liability, yeah. Yeah, you can say that, but I think we fixed the curbs that, you know, get displaced or whatever to an extent, even though the contractor's responsible for that. It's hard to identify what's his and what's ours, because we do snow removal, which we work along the same street lines, and I don't think you're gonna get rid of a lot of liability there. I think you're gonna find that it's gonna end up cheaper for us in the long run to plow, and believe me, I do not wanna plow, I don't care to plow. It's not a fun job, it's not anything I look forward to, or any of the guys look forward to. But it is what we gotta decide is what's in for the best interest of the town. Now, everything I'm hearing for the plowing contracts are doubling what they are now, doubling. And in one town, I know they tripled.
So our contract is, I think I saw 77,000.
Well, because we took, it was originally like 100 and some odd thousand, and we took some of that dropped it down to
77, I think.
77, so 80,000, call it 80,000 for round number to work with.
Man.
So
But this is the
I
last
think,
year.
I think for the
This is
same
the last
amount next
year
year, for the
some
same amount
towns
next
now.
year, you might,
I
when
pay
the
higher.
contracts come out, it'll be around 160,000.
Yeah.
You're gonna be in that double range.
I mean, this position right here, this particular position we're talking about right here, I know I'm gonna get some blowback, but I can kind of justify it because if you don't have anybody on board and you don't have anybody trained up, then when Timmy retires, what are you gonna do? You're gonna be stuck. So, I mean,
Yep. And there is work to do.
I know
Well,
last year it was
think-
8%, now we're looking at 10. I mean, I can tell you right now, we might get by with this year, but there is no way in Hades we're gonna get by with that next year. Another increase like that, because they're not gonna, they just won't be right full.
Well, the other issue too is like Matt said, I mean, we had to increase that line item for repairs and stuff, but if you don't have someone available to do the repairs, it doesn't do you any good to have the parts sitting there if you don't have somebody able and be able to do that.
Well, there is some of that stuff that maybe if you get a good mechanic, they could prevent it from having to go to a big shop
Right.
and have it done, you know.
Well, we're gonna try to do more and more.
Yep. But you can't do more and more with less and less.
But if you have more man hours available for repairs and upkeep and maintenance, does that reduce the probability of having to have such a high
Maybe
repair?
under the age of your equipment.
Well, there's always that, you know, equipment it only breaks when you're using it, so it's, you know, things are gonna break, you can't get around that. But having someone available that can fix something, so Tim can go out and do, you know, if
But
somebody.
Timmy's the kind of guy that I can send out on a job.
Right, I mean, he can be off doing something else and someone else is available.
So if I got Timmy mowing lawns, that don't make sense to me.
No.
No.
So, and
It's great.
he loves taking care of grounds, and he really does that. That's why he does a good job of it. He loves doing it. But we got a lot of other work that needs to be done. And you take Timmy and send him with another two-man crew, and you get me having another whole project done, making progress.
Mhm.
That's
Can
my
I just
goal.
play a devil's advocate
Sure.
position here? We clearly need somebody who's training to get ready to replace the aging workforce that's happening. We just have to do that. But have we considered an apprenticeship type program? Instead of paying somebody $20 an hour, what if it's like an entry level training type position that would cut the budget a little bit, but they're still learning how and working their way up to getting to the minimum wage is $15 an hour, so I know we're not looking too
I
far away
understand.
from that,
But
but
to play devil's advocate to that.
I'm okay with that.
No, all right, so now I have an apprenticeship program. I have to provide somebody to train it. So if I'm gonna train him to be a mechanic, that means I'm gonna have my mechanic in the shop training him to be a mechanic. a lot more than I'm not gonna have him out doing something else.
You're paying
Now, if I have a mechanic that I hire,
Yeah.
that's maybe a little marginal, that's got a good mechanical aptitude, he can go on his own, and if he runs into trouble, then he can learn what he needs to learn from my other mechanic,
Mhm.
and not tie him up, and I can still get another project done. That's the way I look at it.
I'm just thinking if that person's already fixing it,
I
they can
understand.
be training him, but we're paying less.
But you-
And eventually they're working on their own.
Well, that will be the case when that's happening. But I'm
Right.
saying, that's not entry level. You're not gonna leave them alone. Correct. That's my point.
I just thought I'd ask.
Yeah, if I could get if I could get a kid that just come out of like
Well, I'm just thinking like
high school,
Sebastopol
tech
Valley
school,
Tech
all
School.
mechanical, you know, he's been doing it since he was 15 in his driveway with his father, and he knows diesels already, but he went to school for it coming out of high school. He was all trade school like Skowhegan, like they used to do, and walk through the door. I'd take him,
Hmm.
absolutely.
That's kind of where my mind was going.
Maybe I'd get him for 18 months now.
Right.
All right, folks, any other questions on this one? I don't wanna beat it horse to death, but I don't wanna stop people from asking questions either.
Yeah, I mean, I think just I mean, again, just my biggest thing is just thinking about where, I mean, I know you can't always just like go to the end and say, well, just we can't have a 10% increase, so we can't do any additionals, but I just, it is really easy for me to just look at these independently and be like, oh yeah, we need this, 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 but I just want to make sure like, that we're, you know, that we're looking at. I mean, and I guess maybe this, it's 8:30 and this is the time that we wanted to get out of here, I guess, and I'm sorry for being late. But do we have an idea where is now a good time to be talking about where we want to end up, I guess? Or is now not a good time to be talking about that? I mean, we're at the additional point, so this is probably a good time, I think.
The big picture.
Yeah.
Well, I'm reluctant to say I want to go more than 10% overall, quite honestly.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot.
The same way, Howie,
Huh? You know,
we're already
I
at
mean,
10%, how can we find?
So to me, I guess if we look at these tonight and maybe this is what we should do is like prioritize these maybe and maybe that's what should happen, should be like this is 1, 2, 3, and then we could look back, maybe we could task Catherine to look back and see, Catherine, if 10 is or 8 or whatever is the number, is there room, where could we shuffle things around to try to make this work, or is that not possible?
So for the next meeting, I had planned to take everything that you've added and subtracted, and then the health insurance change, and then there's a couple items in the budget that we can take out. And then I could have suggestions on other things that you could do. And then we would have whatever additionals you wanted added in there, and then we'll see exactly where we're at.
So tonight isn't really as much as like approving all these additionals and which one we're going to do, as much as prioritizing
You're
them.
doing preliminary approvals of everything anyway.
Yeah, I know, but I got into this trouble really bad last year.
We're starting to
Yeah.
Well, it's just a matter
Hey, it
of-
all sounds like you get it all figured out today.
Thank you.
Thank
you. Thank you, Steve.
Have a good
It's a
day.
matter of like, this is the first win-win,
problem.
you know, it's like the finance committee kind of went through
Yep.
things and we saw some things that we thought were, you know.
I know, you guys whittled that a lot.
Other things, we whittled it quite a bit, but at the same time, we hadn't gone through any of the other departments
Right.
yet either.
Yeah.
We haven't even done the capital yet, you know, I think that's.
Well, we did go through the
Next
capital.
time, we did do capital, okay.
Yeah.
And we haven't even looked at the theater.
Yeah.
So,
Because-
there's still other things that need to be adjusted, and I don't think this is the final rule.
For sure, this isn't going to be the
Don't
final.
worry, I will ask you again.
No,
Do you want one last
trust me.
meeting?
I will not do it again. I will not do it again.
I'm still gonna ask.
No. Trust me.
But I think tonight is like, the
This
whole
is-
council
I
needs to
know,
kind
this
of
is
look
rolled
and
out,
say,
this is a proposal
let's
that's
whittle
rolled
this
out, this is an important one.
Yeah.
We don't necessarily have to decide tonight whether we want to fund this one or
But-
not, but at least it's out there so we know what we're looking at.
It would
That's the
be
bottom
good
line.
for us to, I think, tonight be telling Catherine what are we thinking? How are we saying that he's not going to be happy with 12%?
Oh, no, I wouldn't.
No.
Yeah, I mean,
No,
and
I think
we're already
so, but I
down.
think that you were saying before that you don't have any guidance on that yet. So I think it'd be good for you to leave the meeting tonight with us to finish up this, but to kind of know where we want it to, where we could have some comfort level.
I mean, you're gonna get blowback for 8%, let alone 10.
Oh, yeah.
You
But-
go 2% and you're gonna hear.
Yes.
I just-
So
there
I'm not
isn't
saying
any
that I
way
don't
that
want to
you're
have
gonna get
blowback,
everybody
because we're
happy.
gonna get some.
See,
no
but we
matter
haven't
what.
even talked about water and sewer yet, as far as water rates that might need to be increased.
Yes, and I would keep the water rates separate. The sewer, I think that we're gonna be able to make a change with the USDA and not, and use
That
additional monies
$85,000,
in there
yeah.
to take care of other things that need to
Mhm.
be done. And then the water will be there, and we have the maximum water budget it should be, and then we're gonna look at what we're really going to do. And we're sitting down with all of our associates to go through, they're working on the terms and conditions, that will be this week. Then we're sitting down next week to look at all the sewer water billing, and then the week after that to see, how we can make this more efficient and effective. It's always been sort of a piecemeal setup, and so we're gonna bring in a professional to look at it and see how else can you do it. All right, so we've got all these additionals, there's a few that you can wipe out there pretty quickly.
I have a question on the police.
Yes.
You had said he had requested that we don't fund the deputy chief
Yeah,
or
the
the captain
deputy
position.
chief was withheld, taken out. He'll bring it back next year. The captain position, he'll bring back next year.
The Deergo safety, isn't that part of the grant he just got? Or-
No, that's the policies to
Right,
update
I was thinking of, he was gonna put that into the
SPOs.
grant.
No,
Yeah.
the grant he got was for Homeland Security, it was safety.
Safety equipment, okay.
Yeah, it was all safety equipment,
So the 4,380 would stay. The other two can just be crossed off because he withdrew them. So the deputy chief position at $80,078 was withdrawn and will be scratched out. The captain position of $20,000, of which he still has $5,000 in the budget, which is still in there. So the $20,000 that would have been added to that, we'll scratch that out too because that was withdrawn. We went through the violation assistance under code enforcement, and this is where all these items were written up by myself or others for everything that you had brought up that you wanted to explore and look at or thought was important. And then I stuck the engineering in because I thought we need to do these capital plans in a more efficient and effective manner. And I've used this before and it worked out well. So all the rest of these items are items that councils have brought up. So I wrote them up, and we have, for example, under code enforcement number 3, we've got violation assistance. So we realized at the finance committee level that we need to deal with some of the violations. You can only send letters and call up people so many times before they just ignore you. So that had been cut down to 30,000?
Yes.
All right, so I think that's reasonable to look at. That would be in its separate account, not in with legal, because they're all mixed in there. And then we won't have the money available. So it goes into its own account for code violations, legal assistance, violation assistance. So that would be 30,000. The office equipment purchase of the new file cabinets are rather expensive lateral file cabinets that the code officer had asked for, and the finance committee had thought no, in that space and for the cost, we should try something else. Yeah. We tried that too, but that's very expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
So we can work our way up to number 2, economic development. The business assistance was put in because we've had we've had a few people, I should say 3, who have stated the town should be providing the benefits, the incentives for the businesses and not sending people to the state, even though we meet with them, through Pete or myself, or bring a business counselor in. They feel that they are in the community, they want the money to come from the town would help support their business. So, this got
Can I vote
accepted.
no on that?
That got exciting.
I've got my own business and I didn't get any assistance.
Yes, I've heard that a lot.
I didn't get any assistance.
No,
Well, I mean.
So this is something that was brought up. Some people were very angry and things happened. So I wanted to bring this up, and I looked up some programs online, and the city of Portland did have a nice assistance program for job creation. We would have to adapt it. The issue that goes on with the town of Pittsfield is we don't have the grants and the abilities that some of the communities like Dover Foxcroft has to fix up mills, or for like Fairfield has a facade program, which is starting to really do well. We're not eligible because we don't meet the 51% low and moderate income for the community. We're above it, and which is good because we've got good paying jobs and people are doing better than the average. So we're only eligible for certain economic development grants, which we have assisted a number of businesses to get. But it's very hard for a small business to get that, and the costs that are added on to the poor small business that has to do all this paperwork. I mean, even for Innovative Specialties and their construction project, this was a massive project for them. That you know, it was very difficult, you know, for all the paperwork and everything we had to go through. So if you take a tiny business that doesn't have 40 employees and they're trying to do this, I mean, it would be very difficult. And you have to advertise all projects that have labor have to be at the state union rates. So we're talking, you know, Davis-Bacon. We're talking really expensive for some of the labor. And so then it jacks up the project, and then there's a point at which it's just not worth doing. So unless it's a really big project, or you're doing one item that you can just bid out as a project and put in the state and federal requirements, generally, you know, loans are the way to go because we can't get grants for the people unless they're bigger. You know, it's a sad situation. So what's happened is you've had, I think, 3 businesses that wanted the town to give them grant money, and we don't have it here.
But they don't want to deal with the state.
Well, why would they?
Yeah, they're a pain in the rear end, like everybody else has to
Why
deal with
would
it.
they? I mean, what we go through here to do these grants is just
Well, there's a
interesting.
lot of business development resources out there.
Yes.
The small business people, the CEI, Penquist.
Mm-hmm.
There's all kinds of, there's Somerset Economic Development Corporation. There's all kinds of business development help out there for people. Everything
And
from
we provide all
writing a
that
business
information.
plan to
Yeah.
pointing you to the directions to walking you through all those grant things. So
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a role for the town. I think that the town can play a role in a limited way to help promote people's businesses, like on our website and things like that. I think that helping in those ways, it boosts all businesses within
You know
town
where
and
this
not
came
Oh, I
directed
do.
to, you know, just a couple. So
My thinking is, you know, this is great if you're living in a great prosperous time and you got a lot of extra money floating around.
Big
You know, it's a worthwhile thing. But the bottom line is that we're not in that time yet, and I really don't think. I think the town. I mean, I realize it's easier to deal with the town than it is to deal with the state. I get that. But like Heather said, you got all them resources out there. Why not take advantage of them?
It's amazing resources.
You know, I don't think that. To me, I don't think that's necessary.
So on A and B on both of those, the finance committee decided that we weren't in favor of either of those ideas.
And the B would be nice, but we can try something else. I put that in because several counselors in the past and now had indicated we should check into the cost for the digital programmable message sign, which is better than they used to be.
I don't think that's not feasible at all.
Yeah, they used to be 50,000, so they're getting better. You know, so that's
I mean,
good.
they're cool, but I don't think we need one.
You have to have, if you're gonna have one, you have to have a tasteful one, because you can imagine some of the, some of the items that you could see.
Oh yeah.
But there's also, I think, grant money out there, so I put that out, that was on the grant list. But I put it in here because people had mentioned it. So we got rid of those two. So that puts us up to the full-time office manager, HR manager. And so Deborah, as you know, had been in the office for well over 200 hours. Assisting and analyzing the workflow. And as a former office manager, she's very experienced in this area, and she did have a lot of good comments. She's evaluated the workload, the cross-training, to conclude there's not enough people to cover all the responsibilities and requirements, which we know because we kept cutting back all the people, and we have less people now, even though we added a position, we have less people than we had when I came. And so she conducted an efficiency study to conclude the office would be more efficient if we had an office manager, which it would be. And so at times I have functioned as the office manager since Vicki Bradley left to go back to Jay, where our properties were located. She was always the office manager and took care of things and did a magnificent job. So this went well for a while until we just got busier and busier, and there were more controversies and more items to work on and more goals rather than a few, because so people didn't agree on things. I wasn't able to spend as much time on that as I should. So I would assign different people to do the office management, and then after a while they would say, no, I don't want anything more to do with this. The last person to try it was our assistant, and so he's no longer doing it.
Why is he no longer doing it?
People have to have an aptitude in certain areas to do well.
So what's he doing now?
He's back to working on more projects, economic development, community development, as much as we can. But he's still working the counter to help out. So Deborah had indicated the office manager, which we had before, would supervise the front office staff, do typing for the town manager, who's typing her own things now and has for a while. Do typing for the other department heads, develop, implement the town office work plan, assign work activities, projects, programs, monitor workflow, evaluate the work products, methods, all the things that office manager would do, and then handle the human resource functions, everything to do with that. And instead of just going through and getting the payroll done as best as possible and doing some personnel files, we would actually go into the human resources and do the supervision, the training programs, personnel policies, rewrite the items, process, she said, all the grievances or disagreements between the staff, processing the insurance claims, maintaining the insurance coverage files, backup, and approve vacation time. And I had a list of office manager duties here. So we would be back to the number of positions we had previously. We would just have different positions than when I came.
What education and experience level are you looking for a $52,000 position?
All right, so the person would have a BA or an associate's degree, human resources, and there's a whole list of items here. So they would have a proper job description that would focus in the human resources areas. Rather than, we don't spend a lot of time on it. We do the basics and we get by.
So in the course of the finance committee discussing this item, we discussed at length with Catherine about the need for an accountant or a bookkeeper instead of this full-time office manager or human resources manager, because the reconciliations that she has to do on a monthly basis take up so much time, and we felt that it would free up her time to be able to work on other items if the bookkeeping and the accounting were actually done by a single person that wouldn't be pulled to the desk all the time, to the front counter. So and I don't know how that would change the salary, if that would be salary-wise, if that would be different or not.
And so I did look that up, and there is no town I could find that has an accountant that's on staff. There are a couple of small towns that hire an accounting service to come in. I'm not sure how that would work with our case because of all the grants and the special
What about
revenues.
Well, couldn't you call them a fiscal grant manager instead of an accountant? That's what we call them at the university.
Well, this wouldn't be for grants, it would just be for strictly the bookkeeping for the town, reconciling all the checking accounts and all the how many did you say it was? 16, 18?
There's more, there's
accounts,
23 or
23
24.
accounts that have to be reconciled and reports done every month. And
Yeah.
you said it takes you, what, 3 full days?
Well, what used to take a short period of time, now that I knew this was gonna happen, we were going to help out in the front end and get the monies from the people and be much more convenient for everyone. But when the monies come in now, because we went to Androscoggin Bank, which is out of town, we have to do a transfer. So the cash goes in to one bank, the checks go to another bank, and then the credit cards come from the state of Maine. And so instead of having one deposit each day, you have monies coming in from 3 areas that don't come in on the days that you send them in, or even the next day. They come in mixed in with the other deposits. So you have to take each of the deposits apart, and then figure out what goes to what and color code it. This does work eventually, but we're up to 22 hours for me to do a bank statement for the checking account versus the 2 hours it was before. And I knew this was going to happen, and I have a spreadsheet and stuff, but I have figured out how to do this. I just do it on the weekend when no one is there. I don't try this during the week anymore, because you
See, you're an expensive person to,
Right.
to do that.
Oh,
That's
I know.
not efficient.
This is aggravating.
Well, it's not efficient, Catherine. It's an inefficient office upstairs.
But
I'm sorry.
if no one else can do it, and
Why?
we've set them down and tried to go through it, even I'm having trouble with it.
Well, there's the other issue that all the people that are on the counter are actually taking the money to begin with.
Correct.
And
need
you don't
to
want people that are
segregate.
taking the money to be also balancing your checking accounts.
Mhm.
So
Correct, yeah.
that's why we're thinking that a bookkeeper. So what do other towns do as far as a bookkeeper that is doing this? I mean, it's not usual to have. Is that the treasurer that would normally be doing it?
What is that? So I'm the treasurer.
Well, I know, but that's not a usual setup either. That's kind of like default, because
I think that is usual, but we've got a lot of money in a lot of places,
right,
and we've got it spread out,
right.
which worked well to get the interest up, because we weren't getting any interest, and we wanted the citizens to have the ability to be able to come in with their cards. So I knew that this was going to get complicated here.
So
I'm not sure the bookkeeper is the right thing. I do like the office manager, HR, and we remember that this was discussed that, perhaps I wouldn't work on HR, and so I thought, that would be really good. And I think we all know
The
why.
the biggest thing is that way you got a buffer. You got somebody that, handles disputes unless they can't be handled at that level. If there's a dispute or whatever.
Mhm.
If there's an HR problem.
Oh, there's a lot of people that can have disputes with each other.
yeah.
well, I don't think that needs to be the primary reason
No,
that we're
it
hiring
isn't.
this
No,
position.
what we need to do is-
I think that, like Howie said, we need to look at the most efficient way that we can, if we're talking about adding staff, what's the most efficient way to do that? And
I still say
I
get
know.
$10,000 in the budget for an efficiency person to come in.
Yeah, and
even
we
though it's
will-
going to put off for 3 months. I don't
Yeah,
care.
we will do that,
I-
but it's just not
I
gonna
think-
get done
and-
for this budget. And I think it's a good idea.
Yeah,
I had that in
and-
Herman, it worked out really good.
Yeah.
So at this point, Deborah is correct, we do need another person, it's pretty clear from the workload, so it's just what is the person?
How much time do you spend a week with the bookkeeping?
Depends on the week. A lot of this has to do with the coding of all the different the one-time checks that come in.
But
Yeah,
on
I
average?
understand why people are finding this confusing, even though I've got it written down on sheets and invoices in for everything I bill, we bill out and everything. It is confusing. I have to sit down and think. We have one of the most complicated amounts of money coming in from everywhere. From all the special revenue funds, all of the special resources, all of the grants. And the auditor has said that, and that's part of the issue why people will sit down to try to work on things and they find it very complicated.
Do you have an average amount of time though, that you would say, like if you take all of your time over the year and average it?
Over the year, 13%. I just did that. I just added everything up. But what happens is I have learned that if I accumulate it and put it all together, it's more efficient for me to sit down and just say, I will do all of this, and then I just do it.
Well, I'm just wondering if instead, because I mean, we're looking at 2 full-time positions that would be very beneficial to our town, but we're already looking at a 10% increase without including them. How helpful would it be to have somebody who is, let's say it's 20 hours average a week, I don't know what it is, that somebody sits down and they do bookkeeping, and that's, I mean, retired accountants may be willing to do that.
Just saying like a
Something-
part-time person.
Yeah, just a part-time person who does the bookkeeping, who knows how to do that, and can take that off your plate, so that you can do the managing of the office.
It's a different type of accounting is what we've been advised, so that's why this isn't done very often. There are towns that try to set up, there's this simplistic bookkeeping system that the businesses try to use. I can't remember.
QuickBooks?
Yes,
Oh,
QuickBooks.
yeah.
So there were some small towns that tried to do that, and they got all fouled out because it's just not set up the way that a town has to be set up on the accounting. And so there are very few accounting firms now, which is why we have the same one, because they keep gobbling up the other companies. So I'm not sure we can find somebody that can do just this type.
We have an accounting firm.
We have an auditor.
We have an auditor.
It'd be interesting to talk to the auditor and see what,
All right, ask them what they think.
like what they think. Where do they think we could make life easier?
I guess my question is, what
the other towns
not
do.
to put you on the spot, what do you feel you spent, what takes up the majority of your time up there?
Right now, it's all the HR. That's become more. The office management HR stuff has become more than the bookkeeping part. But it just each year is different. This is just one of those years.
Okay.
It can be different next year. Usually the financial and the grants are higher. The grants are lower now. I prefer to move that up because I can get some money if we can free me up a bit.
Yeah,
And I will get some money.
You said 13% of your time?
Yes, I just calculated that out.
You know, 13% of your time, you know, if you could cut that in half, okay, and get us an extra grant a year.
That's what I want to do,
You know,
go back to doing that.
Then it's much more beneficial to the town to do that. You know, and you're an expensive accountant. You know,
It's a good thing on salary.
I agree with you. I understand where you're coming from. I get it.
Yeah.
I wish it would get to the point where she could be left alone long enough to work on some stuff without somebody trying to kick her door in every 3 minutes up there like it is all the time. And that's because we, unfortunately, and for good reason, things got cut back, and they got cut back too deep, and now you got all these other problems
Now we're
coming
coming
in.
back.
Now we're coming back. So here we go again. And we got cut back because of the recession. And we had no choice at that
Which is
time.
understandable.
Yeah.
So there needs to be another position, but we don't know what it should be. I think that's where I'm at. I know I have a different idea. Everybody's got a different idea. All right, so let's leave that one in there for now.
Okay.
I feel like we need to figure out exactly what that needs to be before we say.
Correct.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you're not going to say, we're going to leave it in there.
And then a big part of it is getting the right person. Because
Yes, that's
sometimes
a
when we get the
massive
wrong
part.
person and it doesn't work out so well, then
Yes.
you end up,
A little gun shy of trying it again or trying
Oh, I
something.
know.
yeah, then it's
It's been very
Yeah,
hard to
then you just
hire
have
the
another
last
person.
several years. Very, very hard to hire the right people. Yeah.
I can tell you at 61 years old, I get calls almost every day to come into work if I want to work it because they can't keep anybody. And they pay decent money. And, you know, it's just where we're at right now.
Yeah, it is. So I'm going to leave the position in there in finance. We'll just leave it there. We took out economic development. Code enforcement, we left in 30,000. The police has the 4,380 left in. Public works, we're going to leave those in. And this water sewer, you know, frankly, I think if we can reorganize the water sewer department, which has never been done, and find another way to do that. I've never really dug into that. And we had another position in the office. You don't need two. Deborah does agree. She thinks we need two. But I have a different opinion.
You think this financial clerk could be, this water and sewer could be absorbed into the bookkeeping?
I think I'm back where, it was suggested that we have somebody do HR, and an office manager would be a lot more efficient, so I'm there. And if you had that, I don't think you need this other position. Deborah does not agree with that. She thinks both are needed. And she was in the office watching everything, and it's just, you're just zooming all around there.
I was in there Monday morning and it was a zoo.
It
Everyone
is a
was
zoo.
waiting on somebody and there was
And the
like
phones
some-
are ringing.
and someone else
yeah.
and the phone was ringing
People are
off the
lined
hook
up,
and-
yeah, I know.
Unfortunately,
This is the way it is.
yeah,
It was Monday
and
morning
I
too,
know all
so.
about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
End of the month, Monday.
I guess I just go back to, and I know that the credit card thing has made life more miserable for you, but I just go back to the age that we're in
This is the way it
of
has
the
to
whole
be.
internet thing.
Yeah,
Like,
I know.
it would just be cool if there was some way where we could cut the flow of the people coming into the town office down and have it so they could be online registering their. I mean, I know maybe some of this can't happen quite the way that I'm saying.
It's coming. I've got all the
Because if we could cut the people coming
Well,
in,
Just
Now-
registering vehicles
yeah.
and things.
yeah, because I know when I get home from work, I'm like, oh,
Now, like
my
how-
car needs to be registered. If I could do that online, that would cut a person coming in, which I know we're in a society. It's good to talk or whatever, but still, I mean, it's like,
It's not the office.
Yeah, but if like we could cut the amount of distractions coming in through the front door,
No, I know.
so that people up there could do more of the work
Yeah.
that we need them
So
to do.
I have all the forms to do that, but until they understand the Moses better so that they can reconcile the accounts, the Moses reports don't match up well or tell them as much as they need. So we got to straighten that out first. I have the credit cards under control. I've got a spreadsheet, and I figured out how to. I knew I'd figure that out. It just takes a while. But they have to understand the Moses better. There's a report that we found that we can purchase from Trio that might help with that.
Do you have quite a few people using the credit card? Is that a big?
It's starting to get good,
Yeah.
and it can be done.
I mean, I know that
Partially.
when we first switched to using credit cards, we were doing something where, I mean, it was super uneasy. I mean, it was really hard. You had to keep track of it, and then we switched to a program that made it easier, But and I know we're kind of limited here to the programs because
There's not much in
it's
the
government type
Trio.
stuff, and it's
Yeah, not
probably
much.
old technology anyways.
Yeah, it is.
But
So the checking accounts and all that will work out. The Moses they're working on now, we have the amount of what the program is that we can purchase, but we need to understand what we're doing. They need to understand what they're doing with Moses, and so they're working on that because their reports aren't coming out right, so which is frustrating.
So all the credit cards are going through Moses, so that's one lump sum each day that comes in, correct? There should be a record somewhere of how many credit cards were processed, so you should be able to make a record of this much money on 11/26 is expected to come in from Moses. You should know how much cash is in the drawer, this is how much cash is in the drawer, this is how much checks was taken. So those three numbers together should be the total intake for the day, and then it goes to the different banks, right?
Yes.
So there
So
should
when-
be a record that
Yeah,
you can
we
keep
know
in the
that.
because that's I kind of have to deal with the same thing with my farmers markets because I have cash that comes in at farmers market the day we go, and then I have credit cards that come in a couple days later for deposits, and then I also we do SNAP tokens like EBT tokens at market. That check comes another 10 days to 2 weeks later from the farmers market. So all of those things go into my computer at different times.
Right.
And I just keep a log each day after market, and I write down I'm going to expect this much cash, this much in checks goes in with the cash.
See, yours
You
come
know,
in as a separate item. When
It's
ours come
all
in, they're
separate.
mixed in with the other parts of the deposit. So for example, there could be 3 cash deposits mixed into an entry, and then it comes in 2 days later or 3 days later, and then you got to look for the checks, and then you look for the credit cards, and then you reconcile it. Now, I have it conquered, it just takes a while. I said that this would take a while, and so I've got the spreadsheets, I can make it come out right, so this is not an issue.
It's a pain in the rear end, but it's not an
Yeah,
issue.
But yeah, it's not an issue.
Yeah,
The
it would just be
ladies-
good.
the
Hopefully,
ladies-
we can get that ironed out better. And to me, it would be good to try to cut the amount of people coming in.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is, like Howard said, if you do an efficiency, they may have some ideas we don't have about
Yeah, we will
cutting
do
the
that.
traffic
Yeah, we
and
will
ways
do
to go
that.
about it that we just don't see.
Just from their experience.
Just from their experience, yeah.
No, I agree with that. That's always good information. So going to the online services that are away from the office is the next step. But they've got to understand their Moses program first. I haven't gotten involved with that, but I'm going to be sitting down next week to go over that.
Yeah. Yeah, because the people in the office still have to. I assume they still have a lot to do. They still have
Yes.
to staple out the stuff and
They
mail.
got,
They
they
have
got
to-
all their regular work, other work, and then, you know, you got all these new things, and people don't like new things, so I can't do them all at once.
So
What if you did? What if you said, okay, pick the slowest time, Thursday afternoon a month, we are gonna have all staff training, and the office is gonna close at 3 o'clock that day, and then we're gonna have a 2-hour in-service for all the staff to train. I mean, there has to be a way. It doesn't make sense to piecemeal and do the training, because that eats up your time. Every time you have to have one person train, one person train, one person train. It makes more sense to be like, okay, we're taking 2 hours. We're not going to be providing services. We're doing in-service training for our staff in order
We did it every month.
you know, in order to service you better, this is how we're going to do it.
I like Heather's idea, but I'm wondering if you couldn't do that and kind of like the transfer station is actually, I mean, it's closed on Sundays and Mondays. But instead of like, could you have a section? Could you have like a Thursday that you're always, like a Thursday afternoon or a Thursday morning that you're always closed, and every other one you do training, and then the other ones the people upstairs can work on getting caught up, and there's nobody coming in bugging,
Right.
and you can just work on getting caught up on all the things that you do, and it's just a weird quirky thing that
So-
you can't go to the town office on Thursday mornings.
Right. Solon Town Hall closes for a span of time in the middle of the day
Yeah.
where nobody can come in.
From 11 to 1 or something.
Something along those
Yeah.
lines, where they are closed, period, it's set in their schedule all through the entire year. I think it's 2 days a week that they do that, and they take care of their administrative stuff.
I just wonder if that
They
may be
take their
helpful.
lunch breaks, but also do training.
But maybe our offices aren't. Can our offices be like that?
Why not?
Yeah.
I mean, no. I mean, like,
You set
can,
the schedule.
You
that
can,
matters.
you
can't lock the
can,
doors.
you can,
or
but you're
could
going,
you lock the doors?
Of course.
yeah, you can do that, you can set it up in
I
the way
mean,
you
I just know
want.
what the police
Door,
department
the
there.
red
If you could,
Thing is,
they just come and
people
knock on the door and be like,
they
"Hey,
just-
you
It'd be like
guys
after
have
hours,
this?"
when they pick up the phone and call.
Yeah.
They have a red phone out front.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm just asking, could we have that set up? Because to me, that might be something that could. I mean, you could do training on some of the days, and the other days it could just be like crank time.
Just
Let's
one
do
thing.
some- let's get some stuff done.
Just one thing, if you do that, which makes sense, then you'd have to set it up because you run that up there. Here's the thing, when you get blowback from John Q. Public, because they gotta wait more than they're waiting now, we have to have United Front and say, listen, this is a necessary evil, this has to
Tell
be
them how
done.
much money it'll cost them to run another position
Yeah.
if we don't close for 2
I'm just
hours
saying, we
twice
have to have a United Front and say,
Yeah.
listen, folks,
It was-
we need this, it's necessary.
You know, in the medical office, it was part of doing business.
Yep,
You know,
yep.
we took, 2 Thursday afternoons a month.
Mhm.
That's
We
what
had office
every
hours.
Thursday.
What's that?
I said that's what we did in the
Yeah.
medical office. I worked
We
every Thursday.
basically
No
said,
patients.
we got office hours in the morning, and maybe till, we'll work till 1 or 2 o'clock that afternoon, and then that's it.
And I think in the long scheme, it would work fine. In the short run, you're gonna have to tell some people, listen, this is part of doing business
Only
here.
at the beginning.
Right,
Because
people hate change.
Well, it's no
people
different
do
than
it.
you have a holiday. It's changed. It's
No different than the
changed,
school
and
system.
people.
School system sends
You
the
know,
kids home
Every
at
single
Wednesday.
Yeah.
And we have jobs, and we have to figure out what to
And
do
you
with
know
our
what?
kids.
It
That's
works.
way more harder. Yeah.
I gotta tell you, I like it way, I mean, it stinks daycare wise when you have younger kids, but
Yeah.
I like it way better than
And
the
random ones.
random Friday half-day closings that you would get.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
if you set the schedule,
yeah, there's gonna be grumbling in the beginning, but people will be like, it's
Get
okay.
used to it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, the bottom line
first
is, and the bottom
the
line,
adult,
go
I was
ahead.
like, oh shoot, Mondays, you gotta be kidding me, like, Mondays. But
Well,
now it's just like,
I can't tell you how many times I go, oh, let's go get Chinese food, and then, oh, shoot, the Chinese food place is closed on Mondays.
The biggest thing is you tell the public why we're doing it and what it's saving, and you just keep repeating that message over and over again, and eventually they'll see that there's a benefit for it, because otherwise everything gets lost in the shuffle again. And again, that might be part of the efficiency thing to look at as well, to get your training done, to get caught
So
up
the
and that
staff
sort
has
of thing.
already gone to the training for all these different items,
oh,
so,
yeah, I
so
mean,
they've already had that, so they would be looking at this as quiet time.
Well,
To-
quiet time to
yeah.
get
Well,
work
not
done,
quiet
you
time,
know,
but-
is.
Well, no,
you
quiet
know,
time to
it's-
get work
To
done.
be able
Yes.
to concentrate on things, but I mean, some towns, smaller towns, their town hall is only open 3 days a week.
Yeah.
You know,
For 4 hours
Plymouth,
at a time.
Detroit, I can't think of the other one that I know somebody that was like, oh, I can't go today.
Almost
Probably
all
Unity.
of them are
You know, most of
closed.
them aren't open 5 days a week. And for the general public, I mean, if I weren't a counselor, there are 3 times that I would come into the town office. I would come in to pay my taxes, register my vehicles, and register my dog. And I can do 2 of those at the same time, you know, and then the other time would just be to register the vehicles when they pop
There are
up.
some people that
I
come
mean,
in quite a
in
bit.
general, that's all the services you should need for a general, if you're not a
Snowmobile,
business
boat.
owner, if you're not, you know, complaining about something, then those are like the
And you
services
can have
that you need
scheduled
from the town.
complaining time, it's fine.
So,
Close for 4 hours a week and people can complain outside those hours.
so something to think about to make
All right,
it
yeah,
easier
let-
for this
Let
part
me
to
think
work.
about it, it would, I can do all of the checking accounts and everything. I wasn't complaining about that. I have figured out the way to do this.
Well, we
I
know
just
you
don't-
can do it.
I don't like to do it.
Yeah.
And I understand that I am keeping us to have a very good, excellent audit, happy auditors, because I'm totally segregated and I don't take any cash. So I'm the person who's stuck doing
I
this.
think that we just see it as a way to maybe to try it and see how much more work can get done
Special
by the
projects
staff
that need time.
upstairs.
Oh,
if
but
there's
this will be
if
quiet
if you have
time.
like quiet time
It is
in
quiet
in the sense that you're not going to have distractions.
Right.
People can sit down and work on the projects.
Yeah, we call it quiet time, something we rarely have, which everybody wants desperately.
Yeah, I say
Oh,
let's try it next
Well, what
year.
you can do is
see
you
how
can-
it works with some of these.
You can figure out what assignments you want them to have, what important things to work on without being interrupted. I
Yeah,
mean,
for their
so some things will get done.
priorities that they need quiet to do.
Shut
Yeah.
down for like a Wednesday.
I know. I'd almost consider a whole day, Catherine.
Yeah.
Just, I mean, I know you are probably thinking, oh,
I'm
wait, you
thinking,
can't
how
close
many-
for a
how
whole
many
day. You
complaints
kidding
am I
me?
going to have here? I can just see
Then you
that.
just
See-
say the town council
Town
decided.
council decided.
Yeah,
I was
blame us.
directed by the town council.
Yeah, and when they do that, I want that program you've got for telemarketing. That would be awesome.
No, but I just think that there would be some complaints, but I wonder, to me, it's kind of exciting to think of how much more work could get done
Oh, a lot more would get
if
done.
you would have like, and if you could have that time where you wouldn't
Yeah.
be
I
distracted.
would have them do their complicated items that they can't concentrate on.
goodness.
Right,
You
and
interrupt.
you'd have happier staff because they
Oh, they
actually
would be
can see they're getting
happy.
work
Yeah,
done.
oh, they would be
You know,
happy.
I mean, it's pretty hard to get stuff done when you got somebody crabbing, somebody in your ear, the phone's ringing, and 3 people coming through the door. I know I don't do well with that. And
It's harder now, your
It
younger
makes
ones
them
aren't used to
busier.
the cross-training that
No.
the rest of us grew up with.
no, they're not.
Yeah, so it's harder.
So we're still on our additionals and we have the
You
theater
are.
to go to. And it's
Yeah.
9 to 10.
All right, so Deborah has indicated both positions are available. If we added one position, I think that would be all set. Go ahead.
So
I agree with
we'll
that.
So, without water and sewer in there, we have the finance position, the violation fees, assistance,
Yeah,
the Dirigo programming, the public works,
yeah,
and the engineering.
engineering.
Okay, so that's $188,000.
So I'm gonna do a spreadsheet for you with the pluses and the minuses and tell you exactly where you're at. You knew where you were at when we started out because I wrote it down in the letter of explanation.
Yep.
And so you could figure out based upon what we estimate a mill to be, that we had 1.5 mil tax increase in the book when we started.
I just feel like if we don't discuss it, we're gonna get to the end like we did last time, and these like additionals, we're gonna be like scurrying around trying to cross
No,
everything
we have
out.
to do them ahead
And
of
then
time.
people are gonna be pissed off because we approved all this, and then the last minute we pull the rug out from underneath them, and I don't want them to get mad, but.
Yeah.
Okay, to
We've
be
got a
clear,
fair on
we
this
had the
box.
opportunity to change things before all that
We
happened.
did.
Yes,
We did.
yes, you did.
So that didn't have to happen.
But we didn't know that it was gonna be,
Yes, we did.
I didn't know anything about, that was my
We
first
did-
year. I had no idea what it was gonna be for increases.
The amount of the rate increase was unclear until right at the last minute, I thought.
So it was,
But
it
not that
was-
we have to
it-
rehash all this, we're trying not to relive that.
Yeah, it was in the book, however, we added items onto it, which made it better.
We'll have all this year we'll have that
We'll
stuff
have
down
this
before it
down.
happens.
You're gonna have the whole listing.
We have our whole book.
I don't
here.
feel like we had this discussion last
You
year.
didn't.
We
yeah.
didn't.
You tried
We
to.
could have.
We could have had it, but we didn't.
You
even-
wanted it, and then we didn't.
Hey, listen, folks, we're
What?
1 year wiser, we're 1 year more experienced.
There.
Okay?
Won't do that.
Experience. So we'll take the pluses this time.
Okay. So we've got our little preliminary list, which may or may not be the final list.
But what Matt brings up is important. You know, I mean, I think that I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I do envision that we will have some. You know, hopefully we don't have quite the same, or I really hope we don't have the same thing that happened. You know, as far as that many people come. But I do know that if we start talking about a big increase, we're probably going to get a pretty good crowd.
You know, the
Well, I
thing-
think we just need to have people that come that are concerned about a tax increase, not with an agenda.
Yes.
Which is what we have in most cases.
Yeah. But
Here's
still, I mean,
here's the thing, we're having this meeting tonight, who have we got here? Future counselors, department heads, this has been out there. You know what I mean?
This
They
is the
coulda
way
had
that it
input
always
right-
goes.
They could have had input right till now, but they don't, but people don't wanna be bothered.
Heck, last year,
They're
Yeah.
busy. They're
but
busy.
last year, right at that last meeting, we didn't really have anybody there. I mean, we didn't get a ton of people there until the whole thing made the papers.
Until
And then,
after we passed budget.
yes.
Yes, it was because of the budget change that happened.
So this year, hopefully we'll have most of this all nailed down before it gets here.
Yep.
So we're in basic agreement that what we think is necessary versus what we don't think is necessary based on what the finance committee has looked at and based at what we're having for a conversation tonight. It ought to be abundantly clear before that happens, what we think we need and what we think we don't. Now, last year, I don't know, that was just a circus and I have nightmares about that thing.
Okay, well, it was very unusual. I've never seen anything like it, so we're not having it again.
Nope.
Nope. We are not. Okay, no Jamie. So, we're to the.
What do we wanna do? We wanna.
So what is the deal
Can
here?
we wait until our next meeting? It's only
We're
we're
trying
gonna
to
have to
get
wait, or?
Too late here. Do we have concerns on the,
second, right?
do we have concerns on the theater?
Where's the, where is it?
I do.
Just next Tuesday is our regular,
Yeah.
next Tuesday is our regular council meeting.
So it's page 38.
Do we wanna wait until Jamie can?
I don't know. I think we ought to talk about it.
I
a
think
little
we
bit.
have to talk about it, some of it.
Let's at least get some feelings out.
Yes. So
What do
we've
you
got
think?
the theater budget coming in.
38.
Yeah. It's come in at $96,175, which is a decrease of $4,191 from the cut budget, which was $100,366, or a decrease of 4.2%.
They have enough money to get through the rest of this year?
They will have enough money to get through the rest of this year by using their GAAP revenues, which have come in, which are approximately $3,800 right now, but maybe more tomorrow or the next day. And they have approximately $9,800 in the renovations account, which they're going to have to use. On the revenue side of the budget, where we haven't made our revenues.
So we're looking at using up every dime available to the
Most of
theater?
it, I think they'll have a little bit left, maybe 3,000. She has been extremely conservative, it's just she came in at sort of too late of a time, but she's done really well being conservative.
So First question I have though is, where did they get $100,000 budget? Because in January, it got voted like $50,000.
So there were misleading newspaper articles and misunderstandings. And then I ended up in the hospital the next day, so I couldn't straighten it out. And I didn't know what went on until later on. But there were articles that said that they had a $45,000 budget. It was $45,000 that was cut from the budget. So the budget was up around
It was
145,000,
Yeah.
and
So we
the budget was
canceled that
really
one.
100,000.
That was my first question.
Yes, yes.
So we didn't end up cutting it in half like we were
Correct.
originally going to.
No, we did not.
Yeah, there was a lot said that was unclear during that whole,
It was very confusing.
it was really late.
Yep.
And there was questions that we had to fund it through June and not
Right,
for the year.
I still
Yes.
can't watch that.
just whenever the budget ran out.
Misconception.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they will make it through the end of the year. Instead of putting some monies into the revenue account, they've got a gap account, which it took a while to get it approved by the attorney. The first couple of times I asked, I had to rephrase it and how we did it. So I had to take all the items that they agreed they could raise money for and make a new budget, which isn't in the financial system, and each month I keep that up to date, make sure it reconciles, and I'll be glad when this is over with, because I've got, as you see, multiple accounts you have to all add up. So you've got expense and revenue, which is a requirement of the auditor under GASB and their system. For every special revenue or every grant, we have to have a revenue and expense account, which then goes to the general ledger. If anything's left over. So they have an expense and revenue account for their GAP account, and they have that for their renovations account. So I told them, leave the renovations money alone and start working on your GAP monies. And the GAP monies go to pay for the films, equipment, items such as that, that go into the, minor building. And so that's what they've been doing. But meanwhile, you're siphoning off some of your revenues that come in, so you're not making your revenue budget on the other side of it. We did know this, and they do know that. So we're about $17,000 down on the revenues in the overall revenue budget on theater. We'll pick up probably 3,000.
But where are they
Expense
in the renovations account? Is there?
They have a little bit over 9,000. They have almost 10,000 in there. So they can, ooh, what's going on here?
So,
Well, I
if
guess
there's
we're
money
out.
in the renovations account, then why wasn't the marquee fixed?
Because the marquee was going to cost over 15 to 80,000, and then 18,000, and then they had like $24,000 costs. It's because all the electrical wiring has to be fixed, everything burned out. So we can't just jerry-rig something. And they wanted to rip it down, but frankly, you wouldn't touch it right now until you figure out if you're gonna have the theater. What's the long-range plan here?
Well, I guess that's my biggest question with any of this is, where is this all going? And I
Right.
know the theater
Very end somewhere.
committee said that they're working with a 501c3 to try and work on that to be separate, and then they said they wanted to buy another building, and I have a hard time seeing that come to fruition with the limitations that are there now and the needs of the existing building, never mind taking on another building. So.
It is such a tough one. I feel like lately I've heard a lot of people say really positive things about the theater, but I think the hard thing is when you're sitting here and you're looking at like we need to spend money in these areas and these areas and these areas so we can have more, so we can get. I mean, it's just
I think what's hard for me is that we said last year we were not funding them anymore. They had to be self-sufficient so that it broke even. And it's really hard to say that because I know they put in so much work and they really have done a great job with this theater. I'm not negating any of that. But as a taxpayer, looking at a 10% increase without additionals, and we don't even know what the increase will be for the school budget, and we're looking at a water increase, I have a hard time saying we should continue funding this for $100,000. Well, that's your positions right there.
So what goes in its place?
Well, no, not necessarily. So the gap
What goes in its
between
place?
the,
No, the gap
the
is about
revenue,
$40,000 to break even.
well, the revenue between,
So-
looking at the 2020 budget
Yes.
and revenues, it's $33,900 is what will be in the hole.
Taxpayers.
What taxpayers will be ponying up $33,900, which is a lot better than the almost $70,000 that it was at before.
It's back to the
It's-
older years. Yeah.
Right, but
That's a
But where's it
good,
gonna go?
Yeah,
exactly, this is like,
this is if nothing goes wrong with it.
right,
Right.
and this,
Major.
you know,
Here we
this
go, there's
year
already maintenance issues.
was certainly a really difficult year for them. The labor was way over, that labor line's been way over, like $11,000 more than it should have been based on the budget from last year. And what happened there, probably because of people
I
coming
think that was
and
because
going.
of vacation time or something. Right?
Anyway,
Yeah.
but you know, so that certainly didn't help their position any as far as their operating costs and stuff coming out of this year's budget. But at the same time, the big question still remains is where is all of this going? If we are not going to say we're going to put a plan in place to, I mean, last year we put our foot down and said we're going to pave some roads and we're not going to pass this budget unless we're going to pave some roads. And does that need to happen here? We're not passing a budget to keep the theater open if we're not going to also spend some money and fix the building.
Yeah, and we asked them earlier in the year to come with a plan.
And there has
And you
been
know,
no-
I've not seen the
Right, haven't heard
plan.
anything.
And
Other than-
I question whether it's their responsible to do that or it's our responsibility to do that. I feel like it's our responsibility to do that.
If they're moving towards a
we haven't done any
501c3, which was the plan, then in my eyes, it's their responsibility.
But-
Because they're moving away from a town-owned property to something else.
So that's the committee to do that, and that needs to be separate from the town. That's not the town starting a 501c3.
Right, that's them.
We still own this building,
Right.
and we're still responsible for it. If we decide to close the theater and not fund it at all, the expenses to that building don't go away.
No, we still own it.
We still own the building, we still have to shovel the roof, we still have to heat it to some minimal degree so pipes don't freeze, or, I don't know, can you shut the water off and drain it and all that to do that? And what does that do to the infrastructure of the building once you do that?
Normally
And
you can, but I'm not
so-
sure with that building if you actually would want to.
this building is gonna continue to cost us money even if we're not operating the theater, and it would be interesting to know if it's $33,000, because if it is, we might as well just operate the theater.
keep going.
You know, I mean, if it's gonna cost, how much is it gonna cost? If we just look at like, well, the biggest things would be the salaries would go, the films would go, but things like, the heating, the electricity, I'm assuming we wouldn't need telephones in the building, and then the water and sewer would drop if it's not being used. So it's still gonna cost us about, say, $9,000 or $10,000, because you'd have to add back in some of the contractual with the shoveling, and we'd have
Yeah, the snow
fire
removal
alarms and
is
stuff
a
like
big
that. So probably still about $9,000 a year is what it would cost us.
Better than
Give or take.
$100,000 a year.
So,
Well, she's comparing it to the 30.
to the 30,
Right.
the gap
Being-
between
Yeah.
revenue and,
So we'd
but,
save
you know,
labor.
predicted revenue doesn't always serve you well, so.
I know.
They could
And
do better.
expenses are always higher and revenues can always be lower. You know, it does not work in your
Just seems that
favor.
way, yeah.
So, I mean, we still have this building to deal with, and we need to have a plan. If we say, you know, we're not gonna do this year, we need to have a plan in place for what's gonna happen with that building and who's gonna be checking the building and maintaining the building
Oh,
and all
that's
those
part of the
kinds of
cost.
things,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay.
We still have to do all of that, so it's not a zero sum here, where if we don't have all these expenses, we don't have the revenue, so.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess it would be good to talk to the theater committee But this is, I mean, anytime that I've been on the council, this has always been the easy one to just kick down the.
I know me, I know myself.
Last year was the biggest year we've ever done any. I mean, that was a.
I've said publicly, and I'll say it again, I would vote to pass this budget this year because they're moving towards a 501c3. Next year might be a different story for me, I don't know. But they needed a little time to transition in, and I know the plan is still very fuzzy, I get that. I wished it was clearer. I really honestly do. But, you know, the bottom line is if you shut the theater down, you still got to, like you said, you still got to maintain the building, it's still got to sit there, still got to heat it because it's an antique, and you still got to shovel the roof off, and then you got to worry about people breaking into it. Not just, they can break into it now as far as that goes, but the bottom line is we still got the expense.
We could just demo it and clean it up and have an empty slot in there. We put trees and.
What we should do for that, what we should do to that, is if you're going to do something like that, is you should have a referendum on in November and ask the townspeople, what do you want to do with this theater? Yeah, do you want to close it? Do you want to demo it, or do you want to keep it? If you want to keep it, you got to pay for it. And if you don't, you won't. Let the taxpayers decide what they want.
Well, if
That's
you
the
do,
easiest way.
If you do that, then you're going to have to do that on other things too.
I'm just saying that's your easiest bet. Then you'll get a barometer of how people feel about it because they're the ones that use it.
I don't want to use a referendum to find out how people feel about things.
Why
You know,
not?
I don't.
It's the
I don't
truth.
think
No, you're
that's.
gonna
I
have to
don't
follow
think that's the format.
Not only that, by the way, we
To-
only had a 15% turnout for voters.
Yeah.
So you're only learning what 15% of the population.
I don't think that it's.
Well, they did a survey there. They were trying to get some.
We got
feel.
100 people answered
Yeah,
the survey.
it was a little.
That was it.
They tried. It was nicely
Yeah,
worded.
I mean, I'm not saying it was effective, but but I do agree with you that in some magical world, it would be nice to know what to understand what all the taxpayers in the town really want to do with the theater.
I don't think you'll ever know.
I know, that's why I said magical. Yeah.
That's why I mentioned, like I said, that. What else can you do? I mean, you go to the nth degree. That's
Other
all
than
you
the
can
fact
do.
that they elected us to be here,
Yeah.
and if
That's our
they don't
job.
like it, they can be here next time.
Well, that's the way I feel about it myself. So.
If we could only find foundation funding, I just haven't looked, for a while. If we could find something, Jamie and I talked about it, and she's off working on this, probably now, at home. But if we could find foundation funding so that we could fix something, if you got $50,000 or $100,000 and you could work on some of the building, I mean, you could jumpstart this whole thing. See, it was all jump-started back last January, February, and then,
So what do we want to do with this? Are we going to vote on it tonight?
It's the building that's the sore spot of this whole thing. To me, it's like an old pet. We love it, but it's the time to put it down. It's just,
How many of us spent our childhood?
I know,
Our kids going there. It's hard to say.
I don't want to say close the theater, but
Be smarter to build a new one elsewhere.
yeah, that's the thing is if we're gonna we have to put realistically $500,000 into it to make it decent.
I think it was more than that.
We want to make $1.5 million.
It was
seven
it was
and
around $1 million.
it was $778,000 plus architectural fees, and then I think that you probably could get away with that, but people who wanted it to be perfect, have it up to 1.5.
But I mean, even if you still do all that,
Still with,
you
with a
have
little
a
movie
very
theater.
small one-screen movie theater.
Mm.
That's what it was built to be. That's what it is. What is that? You can put lipstick on a pig, but it's still a pig. It's still a one-screen movie theater. It's not an arts.
Well, this is why
Community.
so many of them
It's
have
not-
closed.
Community
It
center.
it is what it is, and you can't make it into something else because the building, there's no.
So
tough.
So what are we going to do with this budget tonight?
I
What
wish
do you guys
Jamie was
wanna
here
do?
Talk to us, or more people from the, and
Why
not
don't-
just Jamie, but.
Can we
Yeah,
table it?
We can take preliminary vote.
Yeah,
you
let's
know, if
do
we want to,
preliminary so we
you
know.
But I
Kick the
think
can
that
down the road again.
Table it.
No, preliminary on what you think,
Straw
so
poll.
we see where.
All right,
we're
let's
headed
take a
here.
preliminary vote. All those in favor of passing the theater budget, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay.
Nay.
All right, let's do a roll call. Matt?
Nay.
Caleb?
Nay.
Mr.
Nay.
Margolski?
Nay.
Nay, and I. Nays have it. So that's the preliminary.
Okay,
So we give it to them and see.
see what happens, at least it will,
Well,
that will
that'll
be
make
so,
people
there will be a
happy.
reaction.
Yeah. And
It'll be
again,
at the next one.
and again, same thing, you know, you do what you can do, that's all you can
We're gonna
do.
get here for 8 people.
Well, I think that it doesn't answer the big question is though.
What do
you
we do
know,
with the
What
building?
do we do with the building?
I know.
I don't know.
I don't have
Yeah.
a good answer.
Is there other tenants in that building upstairs, or?
In
think
the,
so.
no, not in the theater.
Oh, okay.
All right, so that concludes the budget workshop. Work for motion
I
adjourned.
have one more item.
You do.
And it's not like it's not a public input item or anything like that. I think that we need to set a date for the town manager review.
Once I was gonna discuss that with each and every one of you guys, I was gonna ask you to hold off and dismiss the budget workshop, then I'll talk to you for about 5 minutes about her evaluation. That was the plan. I was gonna ask you to please
Okay.
stay here, just for a couple more
Can
minutes.
we do that?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
So, all in favor of adjournment of the budget workshop, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Ayes have it, and this budget workshop is done for the evening.